The year I decided to live. At 20 years old, Han Jiwon has already grown tired of living. For years, hospitals, medications, examinations, and bad news have been part of his life. He has spent so much time trying to survive that he forgot what it meant to actually live. Then, one day, his doctor gives him the answer he has secretly feared. 1 year. Maybe less. There is nothing more they can do except make the remaining time comfortable. Jiwon doesn't cry. He doesn't scream. He simply goes home, throws his unopened university textbooks into a corner, and stares at the ceiling. For the first time, he has permission to stop fighting. So he decides, if he only has 1 year left, he'll do whatever he wants. He'll eat food he's never been allowed to eat. He'll travel. He'll skip classes. He'll watch every sunrise. He'll learn things he's always been too afraid to try. He'll spend money without worrying about the future. He'll finally say what he wants to say. He'll live without thinking about tomorrow. But Jiwon's freedom doesn't turn out the way he expected. Because while trying to complete a list of things he wants to do before dying, he meets people who refuse to let him disappear quietly. A cheerful girl who keeps dragging him outside. An old man who runs a tiny bookstore. And countless strangers whose lives briefly intersect with his. Slowly, Jiwon begins to realize something. He thought his remaining year was a countdown toward death. But perhaps, it is actually the first year of his life that truly belongs to him. And when life finally gives him a reason to keep going, Jiwon faces the hardest question of all. What if he doesn't want to die anymore? Chapter 1, 1 year. The hospital room was too quiet. Han Jiwon sat beside the window with both hands wrapped around a paper cup of water. He hadn't touched it. Outside, the city continued moving. Cars passed beneath the hospital windows. People hurried along the sidewalks. A delivery worker carried a stack of boxes into a building. Somewhere in the distance, a train passed with a low, familiar rumble. Everyone was going somewhere. Everyone seemed to have tomorrow. Jiwon looked down at his hands. They were thin. Too thin. His fingers trembled slightly, so he tightened them around the cup. Across from him, the doctor remained silent. The silence had already lasted several minutes. Jiwon finally looked up. How long? The doctor didn't answer immediately. That was enough. Jiwon already knew. Still, he waited. Jiwon, please. His voice was quiet. I don't want you to make it sound better. The doctor lowered his eyes. We've tried the available treatments. I know. We can continue supportive treatment. We can manage the symptoms and make sure you're as comfortable as possible. Jiwon stared at him. And the actual disease. The doctor took a slow breath. There was no easy way to say it. There isn't much more we can do. Jiwon nodded. He had heard variations of those words his entire life. There isn't much more we can do. We need to monitor it. You need to be careful. Don't push yourself. Let's see how your body responds. But this time, there was something different. The doctor finally said it. If things progress at the current rate. He paused. Approximately a year. Jiwon didn't move. The clock on the wall continued ticking. Tick, tick, tick. A year. 12 months. About 365 days. That was all. Jiwon stared at the window. The sun was beginning to set. The sky had turned pale orange. It was beautiful. He wondered why he hadn't noticed sunsets before. Maybe because he had always been too busy trying to survive until the next day. The doctor continued, talking. There were words about medication. Follow-up appointments. Pain management. Things Jiwon should avoid. Things his family needed to know. Jiwon listened. Or at least he tried to. The words slowly became distant. A year. A year. A year. The number repeated inside his head. Eventually, the doctor stopped speaking. Do you want me to call your parents? Jiwon shook his head. Not yet. Are you sure? Yeah. He stood. His legs felt weak. The doctor immediately reached out. Take your time. Jiwon steadied himself against the chair. I'm okay. He wasn't. But he had become very good at saying that. I'm okay. The journey home took 40 minutes. Jiwon sat beside the bus window. Usually, he would put his headphones on. Today, he didn't. He simply watched the city. A mother held her child's hand while crossing the street. Two teenagers laughed loudly near a convenience store. A couple stood beneath a streetlight, arguing about something that seemed incredibly important to them. An elderly man walked his dog. A group of university students crowded around a restaurant entrance. People were living ordinary lives. Jiwon pressed his forehead against the cold window. He wondered what it felt like to know you had decades ahead of you. 20 years, 30 years, maybe 50. Enough time to make mistakes. Enough time to change careers. Enough time to fall in love. Enough time to travel somewhere and think, I'll come back here someday. Jiwon had never been good at making plans. His plans usually ended at the next hospital appointment. He looked down at his phone. There were several messages from his mother. Are you finished with your appointment? Do you want me to come pick you up? Please tell me when you're on your way home. Jiwon typed, I'm coming home. He stared at the message. Then added, don't worry. He almost deleted it. Instead, he sent it. When Jiwon arrived home, his mother was in the kitchen. She looked at him immediately. You came back. Yeah. How did it go? Jiwon took off his shoes. Fine. His mother studied his face. Mothers were frighteningly good at noticing things. You look pale. I'm always pale. Did you eat? Not really. I'll make something. I'm not hungry. She stopped. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she quietly said, was there something wrong? Jiwon looked away. Nothing. His mother didn't believe him. But she didn't force him. There's soup in the fridge. Okay. He walked toward his room. Jiwon. He stopped. His mother stood behind him. Whatever happened today? Her voice trembled slightly. You can tell me. Jiwon turned around. For one terrifying second, he almost told her. Mom, the doctor said I have 1 year. But the words wouldn't come. So he smiled. A small, practiced smile. I'm just tired. His mother nodded. Then rest. Yeah. He closed his bedroom door. The smile disappeared. His room looked exactly the same. Books, clothes, a desk, a bed, a small plant beside the window that desperately needed watering. Nothing had changed. Yet somehow, everything was different. Jiwon sat on his bed. 1 year. He looked around. What was he supposed to do with 1 year? Cry, travel, work, study, pretend nothing happened. He opened his laptop. Without thinking, he searched. What should you do if you only have 1 year left to live? The results appeared. Travel the world. Spend time with family. Write letters. Make memories. Do something you've always wanted to do. Watch the sunrise. Visit the ocean. Learn something new. Forgive someone. Tell people you love them. Jiwon scrolled. More lists. More articles. More advice from people who seemed to know exactly how to live. He laughed. It was a strange sound. Almost unfamiliar. Everyone knows how to live except me. He closed the laptop. Then opened it again. He searched something else. Things to do before you die. Hundreds of results appeared. Jiwon stared at the screen. Then something inside him shifted. Not happiness. Not courage. Something smaller. A tiny spark of irritation. He had spent 20 years being told what he couldn't do. Don't stay up late. Don't overwork yourself. Don't run. Don't travel alone. Don't eat that. Don't drink that. Don't get too excited. Don't push yourself. Be careful. Always be careful. He was tired of being careful. He was exhausted. And now, what was the point? If he only had 1 year left, what exactly was he protecting himself for? His future. There wasn't much of one. Jiwon leaned back. He stared at the ceiling. Then suddenly sat up. He grabbed a notebook from his desk. It was an old notebook he had bought years ago and never used. He opened to the first page. For several seconds, his pen hovered above the paper. Then he wrote, "Things I want to do before I die." He stopped. The words looked strangely serious. He continued. 1. Eat whatever I want. He thought about it. Then added. 2. Watch the sunrise. 3. Go to the ocean. 4. Travel somewhere I've never been. 5. Learn how to cook. 6. Ride a bicycle. 7. See fireworks. 8. Make a real friend. He stopped at number 8. A real friend. Jiwon stared at those words for a long time. He couldn't remember the last time he'd had one. He continued. 9. Take pictures. 10. Visit a bookstore. Then he thought harder. What else? Something ridiculous. Something he'd never been allowed to do. He wrote. 11. Get lost somewhere. He smiled. For the first time that day, the smile was real. Then he added. 12. Eat at an expensive restaurant. 13. Go camping. 14. See the stars somewhere far from the city. 15. Buy something completely unnecessary. He stared at the growing list. It wasn't impressive. It wasn't extraordinary. It wasn't a bucket list worthy of a movie. It was just life. Small things. Ordinary things. Things other people did without thinking. Jiwon suddenly realized something. He didn't want to become famous. He didn't want to leave behind a great achievement. He didn't want to become someone important. He just wanted to know what it felt like to live normally. He turned to a fresh page. At the top, he wrote, "Things I've always wanted to try." He thought. Then wrote, "Wake up early for no reason. Eat street food at midnight. Go somewhere without making a plan. Buy flowers. Learn to take good photographs. Watch a movie in a theater alone. Talk to a stranger." He stopped. Then added, "Fall in love with something." Jiwon stared at the sentence. He didn't know what it meant. Maybe a person. Maybe a place. Maybe music. Maybe food. Maybe a hobby. Maybe nothing. He didn't know. So he left it there. At midnight, Jiwon was still awake. His room was dark except for the light from the city outside. The notebook rested on his chest. He looked at the ceiling. Tomorrow would still come. That surprised him. He had expected the world to change after hearing the news. He expected the sky to look different. He expected everything to suddenly become meaningless. But the clock still moved. The refrigerator still hummed. A car still passed outside. Someone somewhere was probably laughing. Someone was probably crying. Someone was falling in love. Someone was being born. Someone was dying. And Jiwon was lying in his room with 1 year left. He closed his eyes. He thought about giving up. It would be easy. He was tired. So tired. He had fought for so long. Maybe he could simply stop. Stop pretending. Stop hoping. Stop being afraid. But then he remembered the notebook. His hand reached toward it. He opened to the first page. Things I want to do before I die. Jiwon stared at the list. Then he took his pen. At the bottom, he wrote one final sentence. 16. Find out what it feels like to really live. He looked at it for a long time. Then he whispered, 1 year. His voice was barely audible. That's enough. He didn't know whether he believed it. He didn't know whether he would actually make it through the year. He didn't know whether tomorrow would be better. But for the first time in a very long time, he had something to look forward to. Jiwon closed the notebook. Outside his window, the city lights continued shining. And somewhere beyond the darkness, morning was waiting. 1 year remained. And Jiwon had just decided to live it. Chapter 2, I'm done being careful. The alarm rang at 6:30 in the morning. Jiwon opened his eyes. He stared at the ceiling. Then he closed them again. The alarm continued ringing. Normally, he would have forced himself out of bed. Medicine, breakfast, rest, classes, appointments. Everything had a schedule. Everything had a reason. Everything had to be done carefully. But today, he reached out and turned the alarm off. Silence. Jiwon pulled the blanket over his head. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. He opened his eyes again. The sunlight had already begun creeping through the curtains. For a moment, guilt immediately appeared. I'm late. Then he remembered. Late for what? He wasn't supposed to be anywhere. There was no appointment this morning. No class he absolutely needed to attend. No one waiting for him. Jiwon sat up. He looked at the clock. 7:02. He smiled faintly. I slept in. It was such a stupid thing. Yet somehow, it felt like an accomplishment. Jiwon walked into the kitchen wearing an oversized sweatshirt. His mother was preparing breakfast. She looked at him. You slept late. Yeah. Are you feeling okay? I'm fine. She turned around. You should have told me if you weren't feeling well. I'm not sick. His mother raised an eyebrow. Jiwon looked at her. I'm serious. She studied him for another moment before returning to the stove. Breakfast. Jiwon looked at the table. Rice, soup, vegetables, fruit. Everything was carefully prepared, healthy, nutritious, safe. He sat down. His mother placed a bowl in front of him. Eat slowly. Jiwon picked up his spoon. Then he looked at the breakfast. Mom, can I have something else? She looked surprised. What? I want. He thought about it, then smiled. Toast, and eggs. His mother blinked. That's your request. Yeah, you can have toast. With butter. She stared at him. Butter. Yes. His mother laughed softly. Okay. Jiwon smiled. Thanks. She walked toward the kitchen. Jiwon watched her. Something about the moment felt strange. He couldn't remember the last time he had simply asked for something because he wanted it. Not because it was healthy. Not because it was recommended. Not because his doctor approved it. Just because he wanted it. A few minutes later, his mother placed toast and eggs in front of him. Happy. Jiwon took a bite. The butter melted into the warm bread. He closed his eyes. Very. His mother smiled. You're acting strange today. Jiwon swallowed. Maybe I am. After breakfast, Jiwon went back to his room. His notebook was still on his desk. He opened it. Things I want to do before I die. He looked at the first item. 1. Eat whatever I want. He drew a little check beside it. Then he stared at the list. There was something oddly satisfying about checking things off. Even tiny things. Maybe he could actually finish it. Jiwon grabbed his phone. He opened his banking app. His balance wasn't enormous, but it was enough. He had savings from part-time work and money his parents had given him over the years. He had always been saving. For university. For a better apartment. For some distant future. A future he had assumed would arrive. Jiwon stared at the number. Then laughed quietly. What am I saving it for? He closed the app. Then opened a shopping application. He scrolled. Clothes. Shoes. Headphones. Cameras. Watches. Random things he had wanted but never bought. He stopped at a pair of expensive sneakers. They were completely unnecessary. He didn't need them. They weren't even particularly practical. They were simply beautiful. Jiwon looked at the price. Then at his bank balance. Then back at the shoes. His finger hovered over the screen. He hesitated. A voice inside him whispered. You shouldn't. Jiwon smiled. Why not? He pressed buy now. The confirmation message appeared. Your order has been placed. Jiwon stared at it. He had just spent money on something he didn't need. He expected to feel guilty. Instead, he laughed. That was it. He leaned back in his chair. His heart was beating slightly faster. It was ridiculous. Buying shoes wasn't freedom. It wasn't rebellion. It wasn't some grand declaration against fate. But for Jiwon, it was something. A tiny decision that belonged entirely to him. He opened his notebook. 15. Buy something completely unnecessary. He checked it. Then added another item. 16. Do something stupid. He thought about it. Then wrote. 17. Take a random bus somewhere. At 11 in the morning, Jiwon stood at the bus stop. He had no destination. That was the point. The bus arrived. He looked at the number. He had no idea where it went. Perfect. He climbed aboard. The driver looked at him. Where to? Jiwon froze. He hadn't thought about that. The driver waited. Jiwon pointed at the bus. Wherever this bus goes. The driver stared at him. Then laughed. Just tap your card. Oh. Jiwon paid. He found a seat beside the window. The bus moved. Jiwon watched the city pass by. Buildings became smaller. The streets became quieter. The familiar neighborhoods disappeared. He had never traveled this way before. He didn't know where he was going. And strangely, he didn't care. 30 minutes later, the bus stopped in front of a small neighborhood market. Jiwon stepped off. He looked around. Nothing special. A laundromat. A bakery. A tiny stationery store. A convenience store. An old bookstore with a faded sign. Jiwon checked the name. Moonlight Books. He smiled. That's interesting. He crossed the street. The bookstore door opened with a soft bell. Ding. Inside, the air smelled like old paper. It was quiet, warm, comfortable. Books filled every wall. Jiwon slowly walked between the shelves. He picked up a novel. Read the back. Put it down. Picked up another. He hadn't visited a bookstore in years. Not because he disliked books. He simply never thought he had time. There was always something else to do. Something more important. A hospital appointment. Schoolwork. Rest. Medication. Now, suddenly, he had all the time in the world. Or almost all of it. A voice came from behind the counter. You can take your time. Jiwon looked up. An elderly man was sitting behind the register. He smiled. Nobody comes here to hurry. Jiwon smiled back. I wasn't planning to. Good. The old man returned to his book. Jiwon continued browsing. After a while, he found a photography book. He opened it. Beautiful landscapes filled the pages. Mountains, oceans, cities, forests, night skies. Jiwon's fingers stopped on a photograph of the sea. The ocean stretched endlessly toward the horizon. He stared at it. He had never seen the ocean. Not in person. He had seen pictures, videos, movies, but never stood beside it. He looked at the price. It was cheap. He bought the book. When he left the store, the old man said, "Come back." Jiwon paused. "I will." The words came out automatically. He almost laughed. Come back. It was a promise about the future. A very small one, but still a promise. Jiwon wandered around the neighborhood for another hour. He bought a sweet bun from a bakery. He sat on a bench. He watched people. A little boy chased pigeons. Two elderly women talked loudly. A delivery driver complained about the heat. A young couple shared an umbrella even though it wasn't raining. Jiwon took out his phone. He opened the camera. He pointed it at the street. Click. The picture wasn't particularly good. He took another. Click. A bicycle leaning against a wall. Another. A cat sleeping beneath a parked car. Another. The afternoon sunlight hitting the windows of a building. Click. 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 Jiwon smiled. Maybe he wasn't good at photography. That didn't matter. He wanted memories. He wanted proof that he had seen these things. By 4 in the afternoon, he was hungry. He passed a restaurant. The smell of grilled meat filled the street. Jiwon stopped. His stomach growled. He looked at the restaurant. Then remembered something. His doctor had once told him to be careful with certain foods. His mother would probably tell him to choose something healthier. His old habits told him to keep walking. Jiwon stood there for several seconds. Then he opened the door. The restaurant was busy. A waiter approached. Table for one. Yes. He sat down. The menu was full of things he hadn't eaten in years. He ordered something expensive. Then something else. Then dessert. The waiter looked slightly surprised. Jiwon didn't care. When the food arrived, he took the first bite. His eyes widened. It was delicious. He almost laughed. Why didn't I do this before? He ate slowly. Not because he had to. Because he wanted to enjoy it. By the time he left the restaurant, the sky had turned orange. Jiwon walked without a destination. Eventually, he found himself standing on a bridge. The river reflected the sunset. The wind was cool. He leaned against the railing. For a moment, everything was quiet. He took out his phone. Opened the camera. Click. The sunset filled the screen. He looked at the picture. It wasn't perfect. The colors were slightly washed out. The image was crooked. But Jiwon liked it. He saved it. Then he opened his notebook. 2. Watch the sunrise. Not yet. He hadn't done that. But today, he had watched the sunset. So he added another line. Watch the sunset. He checked it. Then stared at the river. He suddenly realized something. The day had passed quickly. And for the first time in years, he hadn't spent it worrying about tomorrow. His phone vibrated. A message from his mother. Where are you? Jiwon looked at the time. 8:17 p.m. He had forgotten to tell her he was going out. He typed, I'm outside. 3 dots appeared immediately. Outside where? Jiwon looked around. He had absolutely no idea. He laughed. I don't know. The reply came almost instantly. What do you mean you don't know? Jiwon smiled. I took a random bus. There was a long pause. Then, Han Jiwon. He laughed again. He could almost hear her voice. Another message appeared. Come home before it gets too late. Jiwon looked at the darkening sky. Okay. He put his phone away. Then looked at the river one last time. Tomorrow, he would have to return to the hospital. Eventually, there would be more appointments. More tests. More difficult days. The 1-year countdown would continue. But tonight, he had eaten something delicious. Bought something unnecessary. Visited a bookstore. Taken terrible photographs. Ridden a random bus. Watched the sunset. And gotten lost. He smiled. Maybe living wasn't something enormous. Maybe it was simply paying attention. When Jiwon finally returned home, his mother was waiting. She stood in the doorway. Where were you? Out. Doing what? Jiwon thought about everything. Then smiled. Living. His mother stared at him. What? Nothing. He walked past her. I'm going to shower. His mother watched him disappear down the hallway. For some reason, she smiled. That night, Jiwon opened his notebook. He added several check marks. 1. Eat whatever I want. 10. Visit a bookstore. 15. Buy something completely unnecessary. 17. Take a random bus somewhere. Then he added another sentence. At the bottom of the page. Today was a good day. He stared at those words. A good day. Not a good day despite being sick. Not a good day because he had forgotten about his illness. Just a good day. Jiwon closed the notebook. He turned off the light. Then, just before falling asleep, he whispered, "Tomorrow." He paused. The word felt unfamiliar, but not frightening. "I'll do something else." Outside, the city remained awake. And for the first time, Jiwon fell asleep without counting how many days he had left. He simply looked forward to the next one. Chapter 3, The Girl Who Didn't Know. Jiwon woke up before his alarm. He opened his eyes. For several seconds, he simply stared at the ceiling. Then he remembered. Today. He smiled. It was a small thing, but it surprised him. Yesterday, he had gone somewhere without a plan. Today, he needed a plan. He reached for his notebook. Things I want to do before I die. He scanned the list. There were still so many empty boxes. His eyes stopped at number 8. Make a real friend. Jiwon frowned. That's harder than I thought. He had no idea how to make friends. He knew how to talk to doctors. He knew how to answer teachers. He knew how to politely respond to his parents. But friendship, that was different. Friendship required time, and Jiwon didn't have much of that. He closed the notebook. Maybe he would skip that one. There were plenty of other things. After breakfast, Jiwon left home. His destination was the university library. He wasn't enrolled anymore, not officially. But he still had access to the public areas, and he wanted to find something to read. On the way, he stopped at a small cafe. The smell of coffee drifted through the doorway. Jiwon looked inside. He had always liked the smell. He rarely drank coffee because it made him feel unwell. But today, he wanted to try something. He walked in. "One iced chocolate, please." The barista smiled. "Anything else?" Jiwon thought. "A slice of cake." "Sure." He paid and sat beside the window. A few minutes later, his order arrived. He took a sip. Sweet, cold, comforting. Jiwon smiled. He opened his notebook. 18. Sit in a cafe alone. He added. 19. Try something I've never ordered before. He took another sip. Not bad. Then someone suddenly dropped into the chair across from him. Finally, Jiwon froze. A young woman placed several books on the table. She was breathing heavily. Her hair was slightly messy, and a canvas bag hung from her shoulder. She looked at him, then at the books, then back at him. "Sorry." Jiwon blinked. "For what?" She pointed at the chair. "I thought this was my seat." Jiwon looked around. There were plenty of empty tables. "Why would it be your seat?" "I don't know." She looked embarrassed. "I've been awake since 5. My brain isn't working." Jiwon didn't know how to respond. She stood. "Sorry." She picked up her books. Then stopped. "Wait." She looked at his drink. "Iced chocolate." "Yes." "Is it good?" Jiwon nodded. "Very." She looked at the menu. Then back at him. "Should I get one?" Jiwon shrugged. "I don't know." She laughed. "You're very helpful." Jiwon stared at her. "Sorry." "Why are you apologizing?" "I don't know." She laughed again. For some reason, Jiwon found himself smiling. She pointed at the empty chair. "Can I sit here?" Jiwon hesitated, then nodded. "Sure." She sat. "I'm Mira." Jiwon looked at her. "Jiwon. Nice to meet you, Jiwon." "You too." She opened one of her books. For several minutes, neither spoke. Jiwon returned to his own thoughts. He wasn't uncomfortable. That surprised him. Usually, sitting with a stranger made him want to leave. But Mira seemed completely comfortable with silence. Eventually, she looked up. "What are you writing?" Jiwon quickly closed the notebook. "Nothing." "That's suspicious. It's private." "Okay." She immediately returned to her book. Jiwon looked at her. He expected curiosity. Questions. But she didn't ask again. That made him curious. After a few minutes, he opened his notebook again. Mira glanced over. "I won't look." "I know." "Good." She smiled. An hour passed. Jiwon finished his drink. Mira was still studying. He looked at the time. He should leave. But something made him stay. Maybe he simply didn't want the conversation to end. Eventually, Mira closed her book. She stretched. I'm starving. Jiwon looked at her. There's a restaurant nearby. How do you know? I ate there yesterday. Was it good? Very. She smiled. Then let's go. Jiwon blinked. Let's. Yes. Why? She stared at him. Because I'm hungry. Jiwon looked around. You don't have to invite me. I didn't. What? She grabbed her bag. I'm telling you to come. Jiwon stared at her. You barely know me. Exactly. She smiled. That's why it's interesting. They walked together. Mira talked constantly. She complained about her classes, her professor, her roommate, a vending machine that had stolen her money, a pigeon that had followed her for 3 blocks. Jiwon mostly listened. Occasionally, he answered. Sometimes, he laughed. Mira didn't seem to mind. They arrived at the restaurant. Mira looked at the menu. You weren't kidding. Jiwon smiled. I told you. You really like this place. Yesterday was my first time. She looked at him. Seriously. Yeah, so you're taking me to your favorite restaurant after eating here once. I guess. She laughed. You're strange. Jiwon shrugged. I've been told that. They ordered. When the food arrived, Mira immediately started eating. This is amazing. Jiwon nodded. I know. You should smile more when you're eating. Why? You look like you're attending a funeral. Jiwon nearly choked. What? She laughed. I'm serious. Jiwon looked down at his food. He hadn't noticed. Maybe he really did look sad. Mira softened. Sorry. It's okay. No, really. She leaned back. You just look. She searched for the word. Tired. Jiwon froze. Not sick. Not weak. Not pitiful. Just tired. That word felt strangely accurate. Yeah. He looked out the window. I'm tired. Mira nodded. Then eat. Jiwon looked at her. That's your solution. Yes. She pointed at his plate. Food solves at least 10% of life's problems. Jiwon laughed. Only 10. On a bad day. After lunch, they walked around campus. Mira showed him places he had never noticed. A small garden behind the library. A rooftop terrace. A vending machine that sold terrible coffee. A hidden shortcut between 2 buildings. Jiwon took pictures. Mira noticed. You like photography. I'm learning. You're terrible. Jiwon lowered his phone. Thanks. She laughed. I'm not saying you should stop. She pointed toward the garden. Take a picture of that. Jiwon raised his camera. Click. He showed her. She tilted her head. Not bad. Really? No. Jiwon stared at her. Then laughed. She smiled. You're getting better. They continued walking. Near sunset, they reached the university rooftop. The sky was turning orange. Mira leaned against the railing. Beautiful. Jiwon looked at the sky. He nodded. Yeah. She turned toward him. You like sunsets. Yesterday was the first time I actually watched one. Really? Yeah. Then you should watch more. Jiwon smiled. I will. Mira looked at him. There was something different about his expression. It wasn't sadness. Not exactly. It was more like someone seeing something for the first time. She didn't ask. Instead, she pulled out her phone. Picture. What? Take a picture. Of what? Us. Jiwon froze. Us. Yes. Why? Because we're friends now. Jiwon stared at her. Friends. The word felt strange. Too sudden. Too easy. He didn't know whether he was allowed to accept it. Mira raised an eyebrow. Unless you don't want to. Jiwon looked at her. Then smiled. I do. She stood beside him. They took the picture. It wasn't perfect. Jiwon was blinking. Mira was laughing. The sunset behind them was too bright. But Jiwon liked it. He saved it immediately. On the way home, Mira suddenly stopped. Hey. Jiwon turned. What? You live around here. Not far. Can I have your number? Jiwon hesitated. Mira noticed. If you don't want to, that's okay. No. He shook his head. It's fine. He gave her his number. Her phone rang. She smiled. Now you can't disappear. Jiwon looked at her. The words hit him harder than she realized. Disappear. He forced a smile. I won't. Mira didn't notice anything. Good. She waved. See you tomorrow. Jiwon waved back. Tomorrow. He watched her walk away. Then stood there alone. The city around him was getting darker. He pulled out his notebook. He opened to the list. 8. Make a real friend. He stared at it, then slowly drew a check. Jiwon smiled. That was easy. But something inside him hurt. Because he knew something Mira didn't. She thought there would be many tomorrows. She thought they could meet again next week. Next month. Next year. Jiwon didn't know if he could give her that. He looked down at his phone. A message appeared. Don't forget. Tomorrow. Jiwon stared at the screen. Then typed. Okay. He paused. Deleted it. Typed again. I'll be there. He sent it. That evening, Jiwon returned home. His mother was in the living room. You seem happy. Jiwon stopped. Do I? Yes. She smiled. Did something happen? Jiwon took off his shoes. I made a friend. His mother looked surprised. A friend? Yeah. That's wonderful. Jiwon nodded. He wanted to tell her everything. About the cafe, the restaurant, the rooftop, the picture, Mira. But he didn't. Instead, he went to his room. He opened his notebook. Underneath the checked box, he wrote. Her name is Mira. Then, she talks too much. He smiled. She laughs loudly. Another smile. She doesn't ask too many questions. He stopped. Then added. I think I like having a friend. He closed the notebook. For the first time since receiving his diagnosis, Jiwon felt something dangerous. Attachment. He was beginning to care. And that frightened him more than death. The next morning, Jiwon woke up early. He reached for his phone. There was a message from Mira. Good morning. He stared at it, then smiled. Another message appeared. Don't tell me you're still sleeping. Jiwon laughed. He typed. I'm awake. Good. Meet me at 10. Where? You'll see. Jiwon looked at the time. Then at his notebook. He opened to the list. There were still many empty boxes. But now there was something he hadn't planned for. A friend. Someone waiting for him. Someone expecting to see him tomorrow. Jiwon put the notebook away. For once, he didn't think about how many days remained. He only thought about one thing. What was Mira planning? And somehow, that was enough to make him want to get out of bed. Chapter 4, The List. You're late. Jiwon stopped in front of the university gate. Mira stood there with her arms crossed. I'm 2 minutes late. 2 minutes is still late. You said 10. It is 10. Jiwon looked at his phone. 10:02. He sighed. Fine. I'm sorry. Mira smiled immediately. Apology accepted. She turned around. Let's go. Where? You'll see. Jiwon followed her. He was beginning to notice something about Mira. She liked surprises. Jiwon didn't. But somehow, he didn't mind them when they came from her. They walked for almost 20 minutes before reaching a small stationery shop. Mira pushed open the door. A bell rang. Welcome. Jiwon looked around. Pens, notebooks, stickers, postcards, sketchbooks, small toys. Everything was colorful. Mira immediately headed toward the notebooks. Jiwon followed. What are we doing here? You need something. What? A proper notebook. Jiwon looked at the notebook in his bag. This one is fine. Mira pulled it out. She opened it. The pages were filled with his handwriting. Things I want to do before I die. Her expression changed. Jiwon immediately reached for it. Hey. She handed it back. I wasn't reading. You were. I saw the title. That's still reading. Mira laughed. Okay. She picked up a thick notebook. This one. Jiwon looked at it. It was dark blue with a simple silver moon on the cover. Why this one? Because it looks like you. Jiwon frowned. What does that mean? Quiet. She pointed at the notebook. And a little depressing. Jiwon stared at her. Mira burst out laughing. I'm kidding. He sighed. You really talk too much. You said that yesterday. It's still true. She smiled. Buy it. I already have a notebook. Buy it anyway. Jiwon looked at the price. Then at Mira. You're spending my money. Your money. Yes. Then spend it. Jiwon laughed. He bought the notebook. Outside the shop, Mira handed him a pen. Write something. Now. Yes. Jiwon opened the new notebook. What? Anything. He thought. Then wrote. Today, Mira forced me to buy another notebook. She leaned over. Hey. Jiwon quickly closed it. She tried to grab it. Let me see. No. Jiwon. He laughed. For a moment, he forgot about the hospital. Forgot about the diagnosis. Forgot about the year. He was simply a young man walking through the city with a friend. And it felt normal. That was what made it precious. They stopped at a small park. Mira bought 2 ice creams. She handed one to Jiwon. He stared at it. What? You remembered. Remembered what? I can't eat certain things. Mira shrugged. I asked the shopkeeper which one was safest. Jiwon looked at her. She said it casually, as though it were nothing. But it wasn't nothing to him. Thanks. Mira smiled. Don't make it emotional. I'm not. You look emotional. I'm eating ice cream. Same thing. Jiwon laughed. They sat beneath a tree. Children played nearby. A dog ran after a ball. Someone was playing guitar farther down the park. The afternoon was warm. Jiwon slowly ate his ice cream. Then Mira asked, So, what's on the list? Jiwon stiffened. What list? The one in your notebook. I don't have a list. You're a terrible liar. Jiwon looked away. Mira didn't push. Instead, she looked toward the children. Everyone should have a list. Why? Because otherwise, how do you know what you want? Jiwon was quiet. Mira continued. Things you want to see. Things you want to try. Places you want to go. She smiled. Things that make you excited. Jiwon looked at her. Do you have one? Of course. What's number one? Mira thought. Travel somewhere alone. Jiwon smiled. You're already doing that. Not far enough. Where do you want to go? The ocean. Jiwon's expression changed. The ocean. Yeah, I want to go there too. Mira looked at him. Then let's go. Jiwon blinked. What? The ocean. When? This weekend. Jiwon laughed. You can't just decide that. Why not? Because we need transportation, money, a place to stay. We can take the train. What about your classes? I don't have classes on Sunday. Jiwon looked at her. And you? Neither do you. He stared. How do you know? Because you told me yesterday. Jiwon had forgotten. Mira grinned. See, we're going. Jiwon hesitated. Then he smiled. Okay. That evening, Jiwon added a new item to his list. 20. Go to the ocean. Underneath it, he wrote. With Mira. He stared at the words. He had never planned anything with another person before. It felt strange. Good strange. He put the notebook aside. Then his phone rang. His mother's name appeared. Hello. Jiwon. Yeah. Did you go somewhere again? Yes. Where? Out. You're going out a lot lately. Jiwon smiled. I want to. There was silence. His mother finally asked, Are you sure you're feeling okay? Jiwon looked at his notebook. I'm okay. He knew she was worried. He knew she noticed the change. Mom. Can I go somewhere this weekend? Where? The ocean. Another silence. With who? A friend. His mother sounded surprised. A friend. Yeah. She laughed softly. I thought you didn't have friends. I didn't. Jiwon. Yeah. I'm glad. His chest tightened. Thanks. Just be careful. I will. Call me when you arrive. I promise. They ended the call. Jiwon sat quietly. His mother had said she was glad. He hadn't expected that to hurt. Saturday arrived quickly. Jiwon stood in front of his closet. He had no idea what to wear. He pulled out 3 shirts. Rejected all of them. Then a jacket. Too warm. Another. Too formal. He stared at himself in the mirror. He was going to the ocean. Not a job interview. Why was he nervous? His phone buzzed. Mira. I'm outside. Jiwon grabbed his bag. He hurried downstairs. His mother was waiting. Have fun. I will. And take your medicine. I know. And don't overdo it. I know. And, Mom. She stopped. Jiwon smiled. I'll be careful. She nodded. Good. He opened the door. Then paused. Mom. Yes. Thanks. She smiled. Go. Mira was waiting outside. She wore a light jacket and carried a backpack. You look nervous. I'm not. You absolutely are. I'm fine. She smiled. Come on. They headed toward the station. The train was crowded. They found 2 seats together. Mira immediately pulled out her phone. Music. Sure. She handed him one earbud. A song started playing. Jiwon looked out the window. Buildings passed. Then suburbs. Then fields. The city slowly disappeared. He watched everything. Mira leaned against the window. You've never traveled much, have you? No. Why? Jiwon thought. Never had a reason. Mira looked at him. You have a reason now. Jiwon smiled. Yeah. The train continued. 3 hours later, they arrived. Jiwon stepped onto the platform. He could smell the sea. His heart began beating faster. They walked toward the beach. The sound came first. Waves. Then the wind. Then the ocean appeared. Jiwon stopped. Mira kept walking. After a few steps, she noticed he wasn't beside her. She turned. Jiwon stood completely still. His eyes were wide. The ocean stretched endlessly before him. Blue, vast, alive. He had seen photographs, videos, movies, but none of them had prepared him for this. The sound, the smell, the wind against his face, the sunlight dancing across the water. Mira walked back. You okay? Jiwon nodded. Yeah. His voice was quiet. It's beautiful. Mira smiled. I know. Jiwon walked closer. The waves reached the shore. He took off his shoes. Mira stared. What are you doing? Going in. Your clothes. I don't care. He stepped into the water. Cold. He laughed. Actually laughed. Mira laughed too. You're going to get sick. Probably. Jiwon. He ran farther. The water splashed around his ankles. For once, he didn't care about being careful. He didn't care about tomorrow. He didn't care about the hospital. He didn't care about the 1-year countdown. He simply stood in the ocean. Alive. Mira ran after him. Wait. They laughed until they were exhausted. Eventually, they sat on the sand. Jiwon's clothes were wet. His hair was messy. He was freezing, but he couldn't stop smiling. Mira handed him a towel. You look ridiculous. I feel great. She laughed. Good. Jiwon looked toward the ocean. Then took out his camera. Click. He took a picture. Then another. Then turned the camera toward Mira. Click. She covered her face. Delete that. No. I look terrible. You look happy. Mira lowered her hands. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Jiwon took another picture. The ocean. The sunset. Mira sitting beside him. Their shoes in the sand. 2 shadows stretching toward the water. He saved the picture. That night, they sat near a small beachside restaurant. Mira was eating noodles. Jiwon was drinking warm tea. She looked at him. Are you happy? Jiwon looked toward the ocean. Yeah, really, really. Mira smiled. Then remember today. Jiwon looked at her. I will. He opened his notebook. 20. Go to the ocean. Then he added. Today, I realized I don't want to forget anything. He stopped. His pen hovered. Then he wrote another sentence. Maybe that's what living is. He closed the notebook. Later, they sat outside the hotel where they were staying. The sky was completely dark. Stars appeared above the ocean. Jiwon looked up. He had never seen so many. Mira lay back on the bench. Beautiful. Jiwon nodded. Yeah. She looked at him. What's your next goal? Jiwon thought. His list had grown. But there was one thing he had been avoiding. He turned the notebook toward himself. Find something worth staying alive for. The sentence stared back at him. He hadn't crossed it out. He hadn't checked it. He hadn't even known what it meant. Until now. Jiwon looked at Mira. She was smiling at the stars. He looked at the ocean. Then at the notebook. For the first time, he wanted more than 1 year. The thought frightened him, but it was there, quietly, honestly. He wanted another trip, another meal, another sunset, another stupid conversation, another day with Mira, another morning. He closed the notebook. Mira looked at him. What? Nothing. He smiled. Let's stay a little longer. She smiled back. Okay. So they stayed, under the stars, listening to the waves. And somewhere between one wave and the next, Jiwon realized that his list was changing. At first, it had been a list of things to do before he died. Now, it was becoming a list of things he wanted to do because he was alive. Chapter 5, The Photograph. The train ride home was quieter than the journey to the ocean. Mira slept beside the window. Jiwon sat across from her, looking through the photographs on his camera. There were dozens now. The sunset, the bookstore, the random bus, food, the university rooftop, the ocean, Mira laughing, Mira running through the water. The two of them sitting beneath the stars. He stopped at one photograph. It was slightly blurry. Mira was laughing with her eyes closed. The sunlight behind her made her hair glow. Jiwon smiled. He had taken better pictures. But this one was his favorite. He saved it. Then he created a new folder. Memories. He hesitated before naming it. Then added, Year 1. When they arrived at the station, Mira stretched. I'm exhausted. Jiwon smiled. You talked the entire trip. I did not. You did. Only because you don't talk enough. That's fair. Mira looked at him. Did you have fun? Jiwon nodded. Yeah. Good. She smiled. Then we're doing it again. Jiwon blinked. Again. Of course. Where? Somewhere else. She thought for a moment. Mountains. Jiwon laughed. We just went to the ocean. So, we can't travel every weekend. Why not? Jiwon opened his mouth, then stopped. He didn't have an answer. Mira grinned. Exactly. That night, Jiwon returned home. His mother was waiting in the living room. She looked at his clothes. Then at his wet shoes. Then at his face. You had fun. It wasn't a question. Jiwon smiled. Yeah. His mother smiled back. I'm glad. He went to his room. Before doing anything else, he transferred the photographs from his camera to his laptop. One by one, they appeared on the screen. The beach, the waves, the sunset, Mira. Jiwon stared at them. He realized something. He didn't want these photographs to become memories of a life that had ended. He wanted them to be the beginning of something. He opened his notebook. 21. Take one photograph every day. He checked it, then paused. He added another line. 22. Make an album of this year. He liked that idea. A whole year. Every day. Every memory. Every ordinary moment. At the end, he would have something he could hold. Proof that he had lived. The next morning, Jiwon woke with a headache. He sat up slowly. The room spun. He closed his eyes. Waited. Breathed. Eventually, the dizziness passed. He looked at the clock. 8:40. He reached for his medicine. Then noticed something. His hands were shaking. He stared at them. It had happened before. He simply hadn't wanted to think about it. Jiwon swallowed his medicine. Then went downstairs. His mother immediately noticed. You're not feeling well. I'm okay. You look pale. I'm always pale. Jiwon. He stopped. She walked closer. Sit down. I'm fine. Sit. There was something in her voice that made him listen. Jiwon sat. His mother touched his forehead. You don't have a fever. I'm fine. She sighed. You're allowed to not be fine. Jiwon looked away. The words stayed with him. That afternoon, his doctor called. Jiwon sat quietly in the hospital examination room. The same walls. The same smell. The same machines. The same chair. He hated how familiar everything was. The doctor looked through his latest results. You've been more active recently. Jiwon nodded. I've been traveling. How much? A little. How little? Jiwon thought. Enough. The doctor sighed. Jiwon. I'm being careful. That's not what I asked. Jiwon looked at him. The doctor put the results down. Your condition hasn't improved. Jiwon already knew. But, he waited. It's progressing. The room became silent. How fast? The doctor didn't answer immediately. Faster than we'd hoped. Jiwon's fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. What does that mean? It means you shouldn't push your body too hard. Jiwon looked down. The doctor continued. Travel is fine if you are careful. Walking is fine. But exhaustion, lack of sleep, stress. He shook his head. Your body can't handle what a healthy person's body can. Jiwon nodded. I understand. The doctor looked at him. Do you? Jiwon didn't answer. The doctor softened. Jiwon, you don't need to prove anything. Jiwon looked toward the window. I'm not trying to prove anything. Then what are you doing? Jiwon thought about the ocean. Myra's laughter. The sunset. The photograph. He answered quietly. Living. The doctor looked at him for a long moment. Then sighed. Then lied carefully. Jiwon smiled faintly. I'll try. After the appointment, Jiwon sat alone outside the hospital. He took out his phone. There was a message from Mira. Are you alive? Jiwon smiled. He typed. Unfortunately. Her reply came immediately. Good. I need someone to help me with something. What? Photography. Jiwon looked at his camera. I'm terrible. Exactly. That's rude. Meet me tomorrow. Jiwon smiled. Okay. He put his phone away. For a moment, the hospital didn't feel quite as cold. The next afternoon, Mira dragged Jiwon to a small photography exhibition. The gallery was quiet. Large photographs covered the walls. Mountains, people, cities, rain, loneliness, joy, ordinary moments. Mira stood in front of one photograph for a long time. It showed an elderly couple sitting together on a bench. Nothing special. No dramatic scenery. Just two people sitting beside each other. Why do you like it? Jiwon asked. Mira pointed at them. Look at their hands. Jiwon looked closer. The woman's hand was resting over the man's. He smiled. They're holding hands. Yeah, so. Mira smiled. Nothing happened. Jiwon looked at her. What? That's why I like it. She pointed at the photograph. Nothing happened. They weren't doing anything amazing. They were just sitting there. Jiwon stared at the picture. Mira continued. People always think memories have to be huge. She shrugged. But sometimes the best memories are just. She paused. Tuesday afternoon. Jiwon smiled. Tuesday afternoon. Yeah. She looked at him. That's what life is mostly made of. Jiwon looked back at the photograph. A normal afternoon. Two people. Holding hands. Nothing extraordinary. Yet somehow, it felt important. They left the gallery before sunset. Mira handed him her camera. Take a picture. Of what? Anything. Jiwon looked around. People walked past. Cars moved through traffic. A man carried flowers. A little girl held her father's hand. A woman stood outside a bakery. Nothing special. Jiwon raised the camera. Click. He looked at the photograph. It was a picture of a father helping his daughter tie her shoelaces. Mira looked over his shoulder. That's good. Really? Yeah. Why? Because you noticed. Jiwon looked at her. Noticed what? Life. He didn't know what to say. Mira smiled. You're getting better. That evening, Jiwon returned home. He printed the photograph. He placed it inside his notebook. Underneath it, he wrote, Tuesday afternoon. Then, nothing extraordinary happened. He paused, and added, but I was there. Weeks passed. Jiwon continued his list. He watched sunrises. He visited small cafes. He learned how to cook. His first attempt at cooking ended with a burnt pan. Mira laughed at him for nearly 10 minutes. He learned to ride a bicycle. He fell twice. Mira laughed again. He visited the bookstore. The old owner remembered him. You came back. Jiwon smiled. I said I would. He bought another book. He took photographs. One every day. Some were terrible. Some were beautiful. Most were ordinary. But he kept every one. His album grew. And so did his list. Then one evening, Jiwon sat at his desk. He turned the pages. Almost half the list had been completed. He smiled. Then his eyes stopped on one sentence. Find something worth staying alive for. He still hadn't checked it. He looked at the photograph beside it. Mira, the ocean, the bookstore, his mother, the city, the sunsets, his growing collection of ordinary days. He had started this list because he thought he was dying. Now, he was beginning to realize something frightening. He wanted to keep going. He wanted more photographs, more trips, more food, more books, more mornings, more conversations, more ordinary Tuesdays. He wanted to see what happened next. Jiwon slowly closed the notebook. His chest tightened. He whispered, I want more than a year. The words frightened him, because wanting more meant he had something to lose. His phone vibrated. A message from Mira. Hey, are you awake? Jiwon smiled. Yes. Good. I have an idea. That's dangerous. We're going somewhere tomorrow. Where? She sent a picture. A mountain trail. Then another message. We're watching the sunrise from here. Jiwon stared at the photograph. He smiled. Then typed. Okay. He put his phone down. Outside, the night was quiet. Jiwon opened his notebook one more time. He looked at the unfinished sentence. Find something worth staying alive for. His pen hovered over the page. He didn't check the box. Not yet. Instead, he wrote, maybe I'm already finding it. Then he closed the notebook. For the first time, Jiwon wasn't counting the days until he died. He was counting the days until tomorrow. Chapter 6, Before the Sun Rises. The alarm rang at 3:40 in the morning. Jiwon opened one eye. He stared at the ceiling. Then at his phone. A message from Mira was waiting. Wake up. Another message arrived. Jiwon. Then, if you're sleeping, I'm leaving without you. Jiwon smiled. He typed, I'm awake. The reply came immediately. Liar. Jiwon laughed quietly. He got out of bed. His mother was already awake. She stood in the kitchen holding a cup of tea. You really are going? Jiwon nodded. Sunrise. At a mountain. Yeah. She looked at him for a moment. Then at the small backpack beside him. Did you pack your medicine? Yes. Extra clothes? Yes. Water? Yes. Food? Yes. Phone charger? Jiwon smiled. Yes, Mom. She sighed. Good. Jiwon put on his shoes. His mother watched him quietly. Then she said, have fun. Jiwon stopped. He looked back. His mother smiled. Don't spend the whole trip worrying about yourself. Jiwon nodded. I won't. He opened the door, then turned around. Mom. Thanks. She smiled. Go before you miss your sunrise. Mira was waiting at the station. She looked half asleep. You took forever. I was 5 minutes early. Exactly. Jiwon laughed. She handed him a cup. Hot chocolate. He looked at it. For me? Yes. Why? Because you look like you're about to fall asleep standing. He took it. Thanks. They boarded the first train. There were barely any passengers. Mira sat beside the window. Jiwon sat next to her. Within 10 minutes, she was asleep. Her head slowly tilted toward him. Jiwon noticed. He didn't move. He looked out the window instead. The city was still dark. Streetlights passed one after another. The train moved toward the mountains. Jiwon quietly opened his camera. He took a picture of the sleeping city. Click. Then another of the empty train. Click. He didn't know why he was taking pictures of everything now. Maybe because he was afraid of forgetting. Maybe because every ordinary moment felt important. Or maybe, he had simply started enjoying seeing the world through a camera. They arrived just before sunrise. The mountain trail was quiet. Cold air filled Jiwon's lungs. He shivered. Mira pointed upward. It's about 40 minutes. Jiwon looked at the trail. 40. Maybe an hour. You said 40. I lied. Mira. She laughed. Come on. They started climbing. For the first 15 minutes, Jiwon felt fine. They talked. Mira complained about the cold. Jiwon complained about the trail. Mira told him he was weak. Jiwon told her she was annoying. It felt normal. Then, halfway up, Jiwon slowed. His breathing became heavier. He stopped. Mira noticed immediately. You okay? Jiwon nodded. Yeah. You sure? Just tired. She studied him, then pointed to a nearby rock. Rest. I can keep going. Rest. Jiwon sat. Mira sat beside him. Neither spoke. The mountain was silent. Jiwon drank some water. His hands trembled slightly. He hid them beneath his sleeves. Mira didn't say anything. After a few minutes, she stood. We don't have to make it. Jiwon looked at her. What? The sunrise isn't going anywhere. He smiled. That's not how sunrise works. She laughed. Then we'll watch the next one. Jiwon looked at her. There was something comforting about the way she said it. As if there would always be another sunrise. As if tomorrow was guaranteed. Jiwon looked away. Let's keep going. Mira nodded. Slowly. They reached the top just as the sky began changing. Dark blue became purple. Purple became pink. The horizon turned orange. Jiwon sat on a rock. He didn't speak. Neither did Mira. They simply watched. Then the sun appeared. Slowly. Quietly. The first light spilled across the mountains. Jiwon's eyes widened. He had watched sunsets. He had seen the ocean. But this was different. A sunrise felt like something beginning, not ending. Mira smiled. Beautiful, right? Jiwon nodded. Yeah. He raised his camera. Click. The first picture was too dark. He tried again. Click. The sun rose higher. Click. Mira laughed. How many pictures are you taking? Enough. Enough for what? Jiwon lowered the camera. I don't know. Mira looked at him. He smiled. Maybe I'm afraid I'll forget. She was quiet. Then said. Then don't forget. They sat there for a long time. Mira pulled out 2 sandwiches. I made breakfast. Jiwon looked at them. You made these? Yes. You can cook. Of course. You almost burned noodles last time. That was one time. It was yesterday. Still one time. Jiwon laughed. They ate while watching the sunrise. It was simple. Bread, eggs, a mountain, cold air, 2 friends. But Jiwon thought it might become one of his favorite memories. On the way down, they stopped at a small lookout. Mira pointed toward the valley. Look. Jiwon looked. The entire city was visible below. Tiny buildings, tiny roads, tiny cars. From this height, everything seemed peaceful. Jiwon took another picture. Then Mira asked, what do you want to do next? Jiwon thought, learn how to cook properly. You can't cook. That's why I want to learn. She smiled. Okay. What? I'll teach you. Jiwon looked at her. Really? Yes. Then I'm definitely going to die. Mira laughed. You're terrible. Jiwon smiled. But the word lingered. Die. Mira hadn't meant anything by it. It was a joke. A harmless joke. But Jiwon's smile slowly faded. Mira noticed. Hey. I'm fine. Jiwon. He looked at her. Really? She didn't believe him, but she didn't push. On the train home, Jiwon was exhausted. He leaned against the window. Mira sat beside him. You had fun. Yeah, good. She looked at the photographs on his camera. Let me see. Jiwon handed it over. She scrolled through them. These are good. Really? Yeah. She stopped at one. It was a photograph of the sunrise. The sun was just appearing above the mountains. The sky was filled with pale gold and pink. Mira smiled. This one's beautiful. Jiwon nodded. I like that one too. Send it to me. Why? I want it. He sent it. A few seconds later, his phone buzzed. Setting it as my wallpaper. Jiwon smiled. Then he looked at the photograph again. The sun, the mountains, the beginning of another day. He whispered. Another day. That evening, Jiwon returned home. He was exhausted. His mother noticed immediately. Go rest. I will. He went to his room. He opened his notebook. 2. Watch the sunrise. Then underneath it, 23. Watch the sunrise from somewhere beautiful. He smiled. He was about to close the notebook when he noticed something. His hand was trembling again. More than before. Jiwon stared at it. He waited. The shaking slowly stopped. He looked toward the door. His mother was in the hallway. He quickly put his hand beneath the blanket. Jiwon, I'm okay. She opened the door slightly. You look exhausted. I'm just tired. She watched him, then nodded. Sleep. Okay. She closed the door. Jiwon stared at the ceiling. His smile disappeared. The next morning, he woke with a pain in his chest. It wasn't severe, but it was enough to frighten him. He sat on the edge of the bed, breathed slowly, waited. The pain faded. He reached for his phone. There was a message. Good morning. Then, did you sleep well? Jiwon stared at the screen. His fingers hovered above the keyboard. He typed, I'm not feeling well. He stopped, deleted it, typed, good morning, sent. Another message came. Let's do something today. Jiwon smiled. He typed, sure, then put the phone down. He didn't tell her. He didn't want her to worry. He didn't want anyone to worry. He especially didn't want to become someone people had to take care of. So he stood, got dressed, and continued with his day. That afternoon, Jiwon met Mira at the bookstore. The old owner recognized him immediately. Back again. Jiwon smiled. I told you I'd come back. Mira looked around. This place is nice. You've never been. No. The old man smiled. Then take your time. Mira wandered toward the shelves. Jiwon followed. They spent nearly 2 hours looking through books. Eventually, Mira found a photography book. She held it up. You should buy this. Jiwon looked at the cover. What about you? I'm broke. Then why are you telling me to buy it? Because you have money. Jiwon laughed. You really are shameless. Thank you. He bought the book. As they left, the old man called out. Jiwon. He turned. Yes. The old man smiled. Don't forget to come back. Jiwon nodded. I won't. That night, Jiwon sat at his desk. He opened the new photography book. The first page contained a quote. A photograph doesn't stop time. It simply reminds us that we were there. Jiwon read it twice. Then he looked at the photographs on his laptop. Hundreds of them. His life had started filling with pictures. He had barely noticed. He opened the folder. Year 1. Inside were photographs of the city, the bookstore, the ocean, Mira, food, the sunset, the sunrise, his mother, the mountain, ordinary things. He stared at them, then created a new folder. People I don't want to forget. He hesitated. He added one photograph. Mira laughing on the beach. Then another. His mother smiling in the kitchen. He stared at the folder. His chest tightened. He whispered, I'm scared. It was the first time he had said it aloud. He was scared. Not of death. Not anymore. He was scared of leaving. He was scared of the people he would leave behind. He was scared of making memories that would eventually become painful. He closed his laptop, then opened his notebook. At the bottom of the page, he wrote, I thought I wanted a year of memories. He paused, then continued, but now I want a future. His pen stopped. Jiwon stared at the sentence. He couldn't bring himself to write anything else. Outside his window, the sky was dark. But somewhere beyond it, morning was already waiting. And Jiwon was beginning to understand why sunrise mattered. It wasn't beautiful because it lasted forever. It was beautiful because it came again. Every morning. Again, and again, and again. Jiwon wanted to believe that he would get to see another one. Then another. Then another. For the first time, he wasn't asking for more memories. He was asking for more time. Chapter 7, The Things We Don't Say. Jiwon had learned that cooking was much harder than it looked. Don't touch that. Mira slapped his hand away from the pan. I was just checking. You were about to turn the heat up. It looked too low. That's because you're supposed to cook it slowly. Jiwon frowned. I thought cooking was supposed to be simple. It is. She pointed at the counter. You're making scrambled eggs. Jiwon looked at the eggs. Then at the pan. Then at Mira. And somehow you're making it complicated. I am not. You burned the first batch. That was an accident. You nearly burned the second batch. I was distracted. You put the spoon in the refrigerator. Jiwon looked toward the refrigerator. The spoon was, in fact, inside. He stared at it. Mira burst out laughing. Jiwon sighed. Okay. He walked to the refrigerator and retrieved it. Maybe I'm bad at this. Mira smiled. That's why I'm teaching you. It had been 2 weeks since the sunrise trip. Since then, Jiwon's list had continued growing. He had started learning how to cook. He had bought a small camera bag. He had visited another bookstore. He had watched a movie alone. He had eaten street food at midnight. He had even started waking up early. Not every day, but often enough. Life had become busy in a strange way. Not with work, not with school, not with hospitals, with living. Mira filled his days with ridiculous plans. Sometimes she dragged him somewhere. Sometimes he dragged her. Sometimes they simply sat together and did nothing. Those were becoming his favorite days. Try it. Mira pushed the plate toward him. Jiwon picked up a fork. He took a bite. He chewed. Mira watched him carefully. Well, Jiwon nodded. It's good. Really? Yeah. She looked suspicious. You're lying. I'm not. You're making that face. What face? The face you make when you're trying to be polite. Jiwon took another bite. It's actually good. Mira smiled. I knew it. Jiwon laughed. Then his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen. His mother's message. How are you feeling today? Jiwon typed. Good. He hesitated. Then added. I'm learning how to cook. Her reply came quickly. You? Yes. Should I call the fire department? Jiwon laughed. He showed Mira. She burst out laughing. Your mother is funny. She wasn't joking. Even better. Jiwon put his phone away. He smiled. For a moment, everything felt normal. Almost too normal. After lunch, Jiwon and Mira walked through a nearby park. Autumn had begun arriving. The leaves were changing. Some had already fallen. Mira kicked a pile of them. Jiwon took a picture. Delete that. No. I look stupid. You always look stupid. Then why are you friends with me? Mira stopped. She looked at him. Because you're fun. Jiwon smiled. That's all. No. She continued walking. You're also kind. Jiwon was quiet. And, you're a good listener. He smiled. And, you're annoying. There it is. Mira laughed. Jiwon took another picture. Click. Hey. She tried to grab the camera. Jiwon held it above his head. Give it back. No. I'm taller than you. You're not. I am. She jumped. Jiwon laughed. See. Give it. No. She finally gave up. Fine. Jiwon lowered the camera. Mira smiled. You know. What? You seem different. Jiwon stopped walking. Different. Yeah. She looked at him carefully. When I first met you, you looked like you were waiting for something. Like what? I don't know. She thought. Like you were waiting for the day to end. Jiwon said nothing. Mira continued. But now, she smiled. You look like you're waiting for tomorrow. Jiwon's chest tightened. He looked away. Maybe. Mira didn't notice how much that word meant. She simply smiled. Good. That night, Jiwon couldn't sleep. He sat by his bedroom window. The city was quiet. He looked at his camera. Then at his notebook. He opened it. The list was almost halfway complete. Some items had been added. Others had been changed. There were crossed out words. Little notes. Photographs. Receipts. Tickets. A pressed flower Mira had given him. It no longer looked like a bucket list. It looked like a life. His life. Jiwon smiled. Then he saw the date. He counted. His smile disappeared. He had been so busy living that he had stopped counting. Almost 3 months had passed. 3 months. That meant there were approximately 9 left. He closed his Eyes. 9 months. The number felt much smaller than 1 year. He didn't like it. He opened his notebook again. Underneath the list, he wrote, "I don't want to count anymore." Then he crossed it out. He wrote, "I don't want to know how much time is left." He crossed that out too. Finally, "I just want tomorrow." He closed the notebook. The following week, Jiwon had another hospital appointment. He didn't tell Mira. He didn't tell her about most of his appointments. She knew he had health problems. She knew he took medication. She knew he got tired easily. But she didn't know the truth. Jiwon intended to keep it that way. At least for now. The hospital room felt colder than usual. The doctor looked through his results. Jiwon watched his face. He could always tell when the news wasn't good. "What?" The doctor sighed. "Your symptoms have increased. I know. Your fatigue is worse. I know. Have you been experiencing chest pain?" Jiwon hesitated. "Sometimes." "How often?" "A few times." The doctor looked up. Jiwon. "Not often." "How long?" "A minute or two." "Any dizziness?" Jiwon didn't answer. The doctor already knew. "How many times?" "Recently." "Yes." Jiwon looked down. "Several." The doctor leaned back. "You need to slow down." Jiwon nodded. "I am." "You're traveling." "Not that much." "You're walking more." "I like walking." "You're staying out late." "Sometimes." "You're exhausting yourself." Jiwon looked at him. "I'm just trying to live." The doctor was silent. Then he said quietly, "I know." Jiwon looked away. "Then why does it feel like everyone wants me to stop?" The doctor softened. "Because I don't want you to spend your remaining time suffering." Jiwon swallowed. "And if I spend it doing nothing?" The doctor didn't answer. Jiwon looked toward the window. "I've spent my whole life being careful." His voice became quieter. "I don't want my last year to be another hospital bed." The doctor stared at him. Then nodded. "I understand." He paused. "But promise me something." "What?" "If your body tells you to stop." He looked directly at Jiwon. "Listen." Jiwon didn't want to promise. But eventually, he nodded. "I'll try." Outside the hospital, Jiwon sat on a bench. He didn't immediately go home. He watched people passing by. A nurse carrying coffee. A family walking toward the entrance. An elderly man holding flowers. A young couple sitting together. Life continued. Jiwon took out his phone. He opened his messages. Mira had sent 3. "Where are you? You disappeared. Are you alive?" Jiwon smiled. He typed. "At the hospital." He stopped. His thumb hovered. Then he deleted it. He typed. "I'm outside." Another message appeared. "Want to meet?" Jiwon stared at the screen. He didn't want to lie. But he wasn't ready to tell her. Sure. They met at their usual cafe. Mira was already waiting. "You look tired." "I'm fine." "You always say that." "Because it's usually true." She narrowed her eyes. "You're hiding something." Jiwon looked at her. "No." She leaned closer. "You're terrible at lying." Jiwon smiled. "You're terrible at being quiet." "That's not a denial." He looked down at his drink. Mira watched him. For once, she didn't make a joke. Jiwon. You know you can tell me things, right?" His fingers tightened around the cup. "I know. Anything. I know." She smiled. "Good." They sat quietly. Jiwon looked at her. There were so many things he wanted to say. "I'm dying. I have less than a year. I'm scared. I don't want to leave you. I don't know how to tell you." But none of them came out. Instead, he asked, "What's your dream?" Mira blinked. "My dream? Yeah," she thought. "That's random. Just answer." She looked out the window. "I want to travel." "Where?" "Everywhere." She smiled. "I want to take photographs." Jiwon smiled. "That's my thing. Then we'll do it together." He looked at her. "Everywhere. Everywhere." Jiwon laughed softly. "That's a lot of places. Then we need a lot of time." His smile faded for just a second. Mira didn't notice. She continued. "Someday, I want to wake up somewhere completely unfamiliar." "Why?" "Because." She smiled. "I want to know that there's still something I haven't seen." Jiwon stared at her. Something inside him hurt. Because he knew there were countless things he would never see. And yet, sitting there with Mira, he suddenly wanted to. That evening, Jiwon added another item to his notebook. 24. Travel somewhere unfamiliar. Underneath it, he wrote. With Mira. Then, 25. See as much of the world as I can. He stared at the words. Then wrote. Even if I can't see all of it. The next morning, Jiwon woke feeling worse. His chest hurt again. This time, it lasted longer. He sat on the floor beside his bed. His breathing became shallow. He reached for his phone. His fingers trembled. For a moment, he thought about calling his mother. Then the pain began fading. He sat there for several minutes. Sweating, shaking, scared. When he finally stood, he looked at himself in the mirror. He looked exhausted. He whispered, "I'm not ready." The words surprised him. He had spent so long accepting death. Why was he afraid now? Because now he had something to lose. He had Mira, his mother, the bookstore, the ocean, the sunrise, the photographs, the ridiculous cooking lessons, the ordinary Tuesdays. He had a life, and suddenly, he wanted to keep it. His phone buzzed. Morning. Another message. I found something. Then a photograph. A travel brochure. A small town surrounded by mountains. Mira, we should go here. Jiwon stared at the picture. His chest still hurt. His hands were still trembling. But he smiled. He typed, "Let's go." Mira replied, "Really, really. Then, I'm glad." Jiwon looked at those words. His eyes became wet. He quickly wiped them. That night, he added another photograph to his album. It was a picture of the city from the hospital window. He hadn't taken it because it was beautiful. He took it because he wanted to remember where he had been when he realized something important. He opened his notebook. At the bottom of the page, he wrote, "I used to think courage meant not being afraid of death." He paused, then continued, "Maybe courage is being afraid of losing everything, and choosing to live anyway." Jiwon closed the notebook. He lay down. His phone rested beside him. Mira's last message was still on the screen. "I'm glad." Jiwon smiled. Tomorrow was waiting, and for the first time, he was beginning to understand that wanting to live was not the same as being guaranteed a future. It was a choice he would have to make again. Every morning, every difficult day, every time his body reminded him that his time was limited. And tomorrow morning, he would make that choice again. Chapter 8, A Day Without a Plan. The message arrived at 8:12 in the morning from Mira. "Cancel everything today." Jiwon stared at his phone. He typed, "What?" 3 dots appeared. No plans. No list. No destination. No bucket list. Jiwon frowned. "Then what are we doing?" Her answer came immediately. "Nothing." Jiwon smiled. "That's not a plan." Exactly. They met outside the station at 10. Mira was carrying nothing except a small backpack. Jiwon had his camera. She pointed at it. "No." Jiwon blinked. "What? No camera?" He stared at her. "But, today, you don't take pictures." "Why?" "Because you're always looking through the camera." Jiwon looked down. Mira smiled. "I want you to look at things yourself." He didn't know what to say. Slowly, he put the camera back into his bag. "Fine. Good." She smiled. "Now we're officially doing nothing." They walked. That was all. No destination. No train tickets. No reservations. No checklist. They walked through streets neither of them had visited before. They passed a flower shop. Mira stopped. She looked through the window. "Flowers." Jiwon nodded. "Yes. Do you like flowers?" "I don't know." "You've never bought any?" "No." "Why?" Jiwon shrugged. "I never had a reason." Mira opened the door. A bell rang. The shop smelled like fresh leaves and soil. Jiwon looked around. Roses. Tulips. Daisies. Small potted plants. Mira picked up a tiny white flower. "This one." Jiwon looked at it. "It's cute." She handed it to him. "Buy it." "Why?" "Because you said you never had a reason." Jiwon looked at the flower. Then smiled. "Okay." The florist wrapped it in brown paper. Jiwon carried it carefully. Mira looked at him. "You look proud." "I am." "Of a flower?" "Yes." She laughed. "You're weird." Jiwon smiled. They continued walking. A few streets later, they found a small arcade. Mira stopped. "Game." Jiwon looked inside. "No." "Why?" "I'll lose." "So." "I don't like losing." She grabbed his sleeve. "Too bad." 20 minutes later, Jiwon had lost 6 times. Mira was laughing so hard she could barely stand. "You said you were good." "I said nothing." "You looked confident." "That was your imagination." She laughed again. Jiwon finally won 1 game. He raised his arms. "Yes." Mira stared at him. "Congratulations." "I won. Once. Still counts." They bought 2 cheap stuffed toys from a machine. Mira got a rabbit. Jiwon got a tiny bear. He looked at it. I don't know what to do with this. Keep it. Why? Because you want it. I didn't. Mira smiled. I did. She handed him the rabbit. Then keep both. Jiwon looked at the toys. He smiled. They ate lunch at a tiny restaurant. They didn't choose based on Jiwon's diet. They didn't choose based on reviews. They simply picked the first place that smelled good. Jiwon ordered noodles. Mira ordered dumplings. They shared everything. Afterward, they walked again. The afternoon sun was warm. Jiwon felt strangely peaceful. He wasn't thinking about the hospital. He wasn't thinking about his list. He wasn't thinking about how much time remained. He was simply walking. At some point, Mira looked at him. You seem happy. I am. Why? Jiwon thought. I don't know. She smiled. Good answer. They eventually reached a quiet residential neighborhood. An elderly man was sitting outside his house, watering plants. He looked at them. Are you lost? Mira smiled. Yes. The man laughed. Where are you trying to go? Mira looked at Jiwon. Jiwon looked at her. Neither had an answer. The man laughed again. Then you're not lost. What? You're wandering. He pointed down the street. There's a small park that way. Mira thanked him. They followed his directions. The park was tiny. There was an old wooden bench beneath a tree. Jiwon sat. Mira sat beside him. Neither spoke. Leaves moved in the wind. Somewhere nearby, children were playing. A bicycle bell rang. Jiwon closed his eyes. He could hear everything. The world didn't feel like a countdown. It felt like a place. A real place. A place he belonged to. After several minutes, Mira spoke. Can I ask you something? Jiwon opened his eyes. Sure. Why are you doing all this? What? The list. Jiwon looked at her. You know about it. I know you have one. He smiled. I guess. She looked at him. You act like you're trying to finish something. Jiwon's smile disappeared. Mira continued. Every time we do something, you look happy. She paused. But sometimes. She hesitated. You look scared. Jiwon looked away. The wind moved through the leaves. He didn't know how to explain it. I'm afraid I'll forget. Forget. What? Everything. Mira was quiet. Jiwon stared at the ground. Sometimes I think there are too many things to remember. He smiled faintly. So I write them down. Mira looked at him. You don't have to remember everything. Jiwon turned toward her. You don't. No. She smiled. Some things are okay to forget. Jiwon thought about that. What if the important things disappear? Mira shook her head. They won't. How do you know? Because. She touched her chest. You don't only remember things with your head. Jiwon stared at her. You remember them here. She smiled. And sometimes other people remember them for you. Jiwon looked down. His eyes became wet. He quickly turned away. Mira pretended not to notice. They stayed at the park until sunset. When the sky turned orange, they finally got up. Jiwon looked at the flower he had bought. It was still fresh. Mira pointed at it. You should put it somewhere. Where? Your room. Jiwon nodded. I will. They walked toward the station. Halfway there, Jiwon suddenly stopped. Mira turned around. What? Jiwon looked at her. Thank you. For what? Today. She smiled. We didn't do anything. Exactly. Mira laughed. You're welcome. That night, Jiwon placed the flower beside his window. He put the tiny bear next to it. The room looked different. Not because anything had changed. Because he had begun filling it with memories. He sat at his desk. His camera was still inside his bag. He hadn't taken a single photograph all day. For some reason, that felt strange. But good. He opened his notebook. His pen hovered over the page. Usually, he would write down what he had done. But today, he didn't. Instead, he wrote, Today, I did nothing. He stared at the sentence. Then added, and it was wonderful. He smiled. His phone buzzed. A message from Mira. Did you put the flower somewhere? Jiwon took a picture of it. He stopped. He wasn't supposed to use his camera today. But a phone picture was different. He took it. Beside my window. Good. Then, tomorrow. Jiwon smiled. Tomorrow. He put the phone down. Then looked at the calendar. The date was circled. Another month had passed. He counted quietly. 8 months. Approximately. Maybe less. The smile faded. 8 months. He stared at the number. Then looked at the flower. He didn't want to count. But he couldn't stop. The next morning, his body reminded him. Jiwon woke feeling exhausted. Not ordinary tiredness. It felt as though every muscle had been drained overnight. He tried to sit up. His vision blurred. He waited. The room slowly returned to focus. He reached for his medicine. Then his hand slipped. The glass beside his bed fell. Crash. His mother rushed into the room. Jiwon, I'm okay. She stopped. He was sitting on the floor. The glass had shattered beside him. His breathing was uneven. His mother immediately knelt. Did you fall? I'm fine. Don't move. Mom, don't move. Her voice shook. Jiwon looked at her. She was frightened. He hated that. I'm okay. She looked at him. No. Her eyes became wet. You aren't. Jiwon went silent. His mother helped him back onto the bed. She cleaned the broken glass. Neither spoke. When she finished, she sat beside him. How long has this been happening? Jiwon looked away. What? The dizziness. He didn't answer. Jiwon. Sometimes. How often? He swallowed. Recently. His mother closed her eyes. You should have told me. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. She took his hand. Just tell me. Jiwon's eyes became wet. I'm scared. His mother squeezed his hand. I know. I don't want you to worry. I am your mother. Her voice broke. Of course I'm going to worry. Jiwon looked down. I'm trying to live. I know. But sometimes. He struggled to speak. Sometimes I don't know if my body will let me. His mother pulled him into her arms. Jiwon froze. He hadn't been hugged like that in a long time. Then he finally let himself cry. Quietly. Without fighting it. His mother held him. You don't have to be strong all the time. Jiwon closed his eyes. For once, he believed her. Later that day, they went to the hospital. The doctor examined him. More tests. More questions. More waiting. Finally, the doctor sat across from him. Your symptoms are progressing. Jiwon nodded. I know. You need to reduce your activity. Jiwon looked down. How much? Enough that your body can recover. What about my trips? Shorter. Walking. Moderate. Photography. The doctor almost smiled. Photography is fine. Jiwon smiled faintly. Good. The doctor looked at him. But Jiwon. His expression became serious. You need to understand something. Jiwon waited. Your time may be shorter than we originally estimated. The room went silent. Jiwon stared at him. How much shorter? I can't give you an exact number. 6 months. The doctor didn't answer. Less. Still nothing. Jiwon's hands began shaking. The doctor leaned forward. We don't know. Jiwon looked down. For months, 1 year had been his deadline. Now even that deadline was uncertain. He had thought having 1 year was frightening. But not knowing was worse. Outside the hospital, Jiwon sat alone. He didn't call Mira. He didn't call his mother. He simply sat. The city moved around him. Cars, people, buses, laughter, life. His phone buzzed. It's Mira. Where are you? Another message. You disappeared again. Jiwon stared at the screen. His fingers hovered. He wanted to tell her. He wanted someone to know. But fear stopped him. If he told her, she would worry. She would look at him differently. She might stop treating him normally. She might start watching him every second. And worse, she might become attached to someone who was going to leave. Jiwon typed, I'm okay. Then stopped. He deleted it. He typed, I'm tired today. He sent it. Mira replied. Then rest. Nothing else. No questions. No pressure. Just rest. Jiwon stared at the message. His eyes filled with tears. He whispered, how am I supposed to leave you? That night, Jiwon opened his notebook. The list was almost full. He turned through the pages. Photographs, tickets, receipts, little notes, pressed flowers, handwritten memories. He had accomplished so much. But there was one thing he had never written down. Something much more frightening than any trip. He turned to a blank page. Slowly, he wrote, tell Mira the truth. He stared at it. Then, beneath it, not yet. He closed the notebook. Outside, the flower beside his window moved gently in the night breeze. Jiwon looked at it. He had spent months learning how to live. Now he had to learn something harder. How to keep living when the future he had finally begun wanting might disappear. Chapter 9, The Truth. For 3 days, Jiwon avoided Mira. Not completely. He still answered her messages. He still smiled when she sent him something ridiculous. He still said he was fine. But he stopped meeting her. Every time she asked, he had an excuse. I'm tired. I have an appointment. My mother needs me home. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow became the easiest word to hide behind. And Mira noticed. Of course she noticed. She always noticed. On the fourth day, Jiwon was sitting alone in the Moonlight bookstore. The old owner placed a cup of tea beside him. You look troubled. Jiwon smiled faintly. Do I? You've been staring at the same page for 20 minutes. Jiwon looked down. He wasn't even reading. The old man sat across from him. Trouble with a friend. Jiwon looked surprised. How did you know? You've been smiling at your phone. Jiwon looked away. Then, suddenly you stopped. The old man nodded toward the phone. That's usually about someone. Jiwon was quiet. After a while, he said. I'm afraid of hurting someone. By telling them the truth. Jiwon looked up. The old man smiled. Sometimes hiding the truth hurts more. Jiwon stared at his tea. What if the truth changes everything? Then everything was already changing. Those words stayed with him. That evening, Jiwon went home early. His mother was in the kitchen. She looked at him. You're home early. Yeah. Did you meet Mira today? Jiwon froze. No. His mother turned off the stove. Why? I'm tired. She looked at him. That's not the reason. Jiwon said nothing. His mother walked closer. You've been avoiding her. He looked away. She doesn't know. Know what? Jiwon swallowed. Everything. His mother understood immediately. Her expression softened. You're going to tell her. I don't know. Why? Because I'm scared. His mother reached for his hand. What are you afraid of? Jiwon looked down. That she'll stay. His mother frowned. Isn't that what you want? Jiwon's eyes became wet. That's the problem. He whispered. If she stays, she'll get attached. His voice shook. And when I'm gone. He couldn't finish. His mother pulled him into a hug. Jiwon closed his eyes. I don't want her to remember me as someone who was sick. His mother held him tighter. Then let her remember you as Jiwon. The next morning, Mira showed up at his house. Jiwon opened the door. He froze. Mira stood outside with her arms crossed. You're avoiding me. I'm not. You are. I'm just tired. That's your favorite excuse. Jiwon looked away. Mira's expression softened. Can I come in? He hesitated. Then stepped aside. They sat in Jiwon's room. Neither spoke. Mira looked around. She noticed the flower beside the window. The little bear from the arcade. The photographs. The notebook. There were pictures everywhere now. The ocean. The sunrise. The bookstore. The city. His mother. Mira. So many pictures of Mira. She smiled. You really took a lot of pictures. Jiwon looked down. Yeah. Why? I like remembering things. She picked up one photograph. It showed them sitting on the beach. You kept this. Of course. Mira smiled. Then she noticed something. A photograph of Jiwon sitting alone in the hospital. Her smile disappeared. When was this? Jiwon didn't answer. Jiwon. He closed his eyes. He knew. There was no more hiding. Mira placed the photograph down. Why were you at the hospital? I'm there sometimes. Sometimes. Yeah. For what? Jiwon looked at her. His heart was pounding. He had imagined this moment so many times. He had imagined crying. Mira leaving. Mira looking at him with pity. None of those imagined scenes prepared him for the silence. He took a breath. I'm sick. Mira's expression changed. I know you're sick. No. Jiwon shook his head. You don't know. He looked down at his hands. I've been sick for a long time. Mira waited. My condition got worse. He swallowed. The doctors told me. His voice became smaller. I don't have much time. Mira stared at him. How much? Jiwon couldn't look at her. About a year. Silence. Mira didn't move. Jiwon forced himself to continue. That was the original estimate. Original. He nodded. They said it might be shorter now. Mira's face went pale. How much? They don't know. She stared at him. How long have you known? Since before I met you. Her eyes filled with tears. You knew. Yes. And you never told me. I'm sorry. Why? Jiwon looked at her. Because I didn't want you to treat me differently. Mira's tears fell. How am I supposed to not treat you differently after hearing that? Jiwon looked away. I don't know. She stood. Jiwon thought she was leaving. His chest tightened. But Mira didn't go. She stood there, crying. You idiot. Jiwon lowered his head. I know. You absolute idiot. I'm sorry. You let me think we had forever. I know. You kept making plans with me. I know. You kept saying, tomorrow. Jiwon's eyes filled with tears. I wanted there to be a tomorrow. Mira went silent. Jiwon finally looked at her. I know I don't have forever. His voice broke. But when I'm with you. He wiped his eyes. I forget. Mira's expression softened. I forget that I'm dying. The room became painfully quiet. I forget about the hospital. He laughed weakly through his tears. I forget about the countdown. He looked at her. And I started wanting things I wasn't supposed to want. Mira whispered. Like what? Jiwon answered honestly. More time. Mira sat down again. She wiped her tears. You should have told me. I was scared. Of me. Of losing you. She stared at him. You were going to lose me anyway. Jiwon looked down. That's what I thought. Mira shook her head. You don't get to decide for me. Jiwon looked at her. What? You don't get to decide whether I'm allowed to stay. Her voice trembled. If you're scared, tell me you're scared. She wiped her eyes. If you're sick, tell me you're sick. She took a breath. But don't disappear and call it protecting me. Jiwon couldn't answer. Mira reached for his hand. He hesitated. Then let her take it. Her hand was warm. I don't know how much time you have. Jiwon looked at her. I don't know either. Then we'll stop pretending we do. She squeezed his hand. One day at a time. Jiwon's eyes filled again. Mira, you don't have to promise me you'll live forever. He looked at her. Just promise me you'll stop lying when you're hurting. Jiwon nodded. I promise. They sat together for a long time. Eventually, Mira looked around the room. You really have a lot of pictures. Jiwon laughed softly. Yeah. She picked up another. It showed her laughing at the beach. You took this one secretly. You looked happy. I was. She smiled. Can I keep it? Jiwon nodded. Of course. Mira took the photograph. Then looked at him. Can I be in the album? Jiwon smiled. You already are. Not enough. She reached for the notebook. How many pages are there? A lot. Good. She opened it. The list filled several pages. Some boxes were checked. Others were empty. She found the page with, Tell Mira the truth. Her eyes widened. Jiwon immediately tried to take it. Wait. She read the next line. Not yet. Mira looked at him. You wrote this? Yes. When? A few days ago. She closed the notebook. You were planning to tell me. Eventually. She smiled through her tears. You're still an idiot. Jiwon laughed. Probably. That afternoon, they went outside. No destination. No plan. They simply walked. Jiwon noticed that Mira was quieter than usual. She wasn't filling every silence. She wasn't making jokes every 5 seconds. She was thinking. Eventually, she spoke. Are you afraid? Jiwon nodded. Sometimes. Of dying. He thought about it. Not as much as before. Then what? Leaving. She looked at him. Leaving everyone. Mira was quiet. Then she said. Then leave a lot of memories. Jiwon smiled. I've been trying. Good. She pointed at his camera. Take a picture. Of what? Today. Jiwon raised the camera. He looked at Mira. She was standing beneath a tree. The afternoon light fell through the leaves. She smiled. Not the exaggerated smile she usually gave. A quiet one. A real one. Jiwon pressed the shutter. Click. He looked at the photograph. Perfect. Mira walked closer. Let me see. He showed her. She smiled. That's good. Jiwon nodded. Yeah. He saved it. That night, Jiwon opened his notebook. He found the page. Tell Mira the truth. He drew a check beside it. Then he added. She stayed. He stared at those words. His eyes became wet. He turned the page. On the next blank page, he wrote. 26. Make memories with people who know the truth. He smiled. Then another. 27. Stop pretending I'm not scared. He checked it immediately. The following weeks were different. Mira knew. And somehow, everything changed. But not in the way Jiwon had feared. She still dragged him outside. Still complained about his terrible cooking. Still stole food from his plate. Still called him annoying. She simply started paying attention. When he became tired, she noticed. When he needed to rest, she didn't argue. When he had a bad day, she stayed. She didn't treat him like a dying person. She treated him like Jiwon. And that meant more than he could explain. One evening, they sat on the university rooftop. The city lights stretched below them. Mira held the camera. Your turn. My turn for what? Take a picture of me. Jiwon smiled. You've become obsessed with photographs. You started it. She stood near the railing. Jiwon raised the camera. Click. Mira walked over. Show me. He did. She smiled. Keep it. I will. She looked toward the city. Jiwon. When you first met me. Yeah. Did you think we'd become friends? No. She laughed. Rude. I didn't think I'd make any friends. Why? Jiwon looked at the city. I didn't think I had enough time. Mira's smile faded. Then she looked at him. You have today. Jiwon looked at her. That's enough. He smiled. Yeah. For once, he didn't argue. That night, Jiwon stood beside his window. The little flower had begun to bloom. He touched one of its petals. His life was still uncertain. His body was still getting weaker. His future was still frightening. But something had changed. He wasn't carrying the secret alone anymore. He opened his notebook. At the bottom of the page, he wrote, I thought telling the truth would make people leave. Then, instead, someone stayed. He closed the notebook. Outside, the city glittered. Tomorrow was still uncertain. But for the first time, Jiwon wasn't afraid of uncertainty. Because he finally understood something. A future didn't have to be guaranteed to be worth wanting. And sometimes, the courage to live begins with the courage to let someone know you're afraid. Chapter 10, One Day at a Time. The morning after Jiwon told Mira the truth, nothing looked different. The same sunlight came through his curtains. The same sounds came from the kitchen. The same little flower sat beside his window. His phone was still on the desk. And his life was still uncertain. Jiwon stared at the ceiling. For months, he had been afraid of this moment. The moment someone knew. The moment the secret wasn't his alone anymore. Yet strangely, he felt lighter. Not happy. Not relieved exactly. Just lighter. His phone vibrated. Good morning. A second message appeared. You're still alive, right? Jiwon smiled. Unfortunately. Her reply came immediately. Good. Get dressed. Why? Breakfast. I can eat at home. I know. Then why? Because I want to eat with you. Jiwon stared at the message. Then smiled. Okay. His mother was surprised when he came downstairs early. You're going out? Yeah. With Mira. Jiwon nodded. His mother smiled. Have fun. Jiwon grabbed his jacket. Then stopped. Mom. I'm okay. She looked at him. He knew she understood what he really meant. I'm still scared. But I'm okay. His mother smiled. I know. Mira was waiting outside a small breakfast restaurant. She waved. You're late. I'm 2 minutes early. Exactly. Jiwon laughed. You're impossible. I know. They sat near the window. Mira handed him a menu. What do you want? Anything. That's not an answer. Jiwon looked at the menu. Something good. Excellent. She ordered enough food for 3 people. Jiwon stared at the table when everything arrived. Are you planning to feed an entire family? No. She pointed at him. You've been eating too little. I haven't. You have. How would you know? Because I watch. Jiwon became quiet. Mira noticed. What? Nothing. She looked at him seriously. Don't make that face. What face? That face where you think you're a burden. Jiwon looked down. I don't. You do. She pushed a plate toward him. Eat. He smiled. You're bossy. Eat. He picked up his chopsticks. Yes, ma'am. After breakfast, they walked through the city. Mira didn't have a plan. Jiwon didn't either. They passed a small photo booth. Mira stopped. Let's take pictures. Jiwon looked at the machine. Why? Because. That's not a reason. It is. She pulled him inside. The booth was tiny. They stood shoulder to shoulder. The screen counted down. 3. Mira smiled. 2. Jiwon looked at the camera. 1. Click. The first picture was normal. Second picture. Mira made a ridiculous face. Jiwon laughed. Third. Jiwon tried to copy her. Fourth. They both started laughing before the camera took the picture. The machine printed the photos. Mira grabbed the strip. She looked at it. These are terrible. Jiwon smiled. They're perfect. She looked at him. Really? Yeah. She handed him one copy. Then keep it. Jiwon placed it carefully inside his wallet. They continued walking. Mira stopped at a small park. Jiwon sat on a bench. I'm tired. Mira immediately sat beside him. Then we'll stay here. No complaining. No forcing me to walk. No. No saying I'm weak, she thought. I'll try. Jiwon laughed. They sat quietly. The wind moved through the trees. A child ran past them holding a balloon. An elderly couple walked hand in hand. A dog barked somewhere nearby. Jiwon watched. He used to think every meaningful moment had to be extraordinary. A trip, a sunrise, the ocean, fireworks, something worth remembering. But now he was starting to understand. Sometimes life was just sitting on a bench beside someone. Nothing happened. And yet, you were happy. Jiwon. Are you scared? He knew what she meant. Yes. Mira looked at him. Every day. Not every day. Most days. Jiwon thought. Sometimes. She nodded. What do you do when you're scared? I ignore it. Mira sighed. That's terrible advice. It works. No, it doesn't. She looked toward the sky. When I'm scared, I talk to someone. Jiwon smiled. That's why you talk so much. Exactly. He laughed. Then she looked at him. So talk. Jiwon was quiet. He took a breath. I'm scared that I'll get worse. Mira listened. I'm scared I'll suddenly become too sick to do anything. She nodded. I'm scared that one day I'll wake up and... He stopped. Mira waited. I won't have another day. The words were difficult to say. But once they were out, Jiwon felt something loosen inside him. Mira didn't try to make it better. She didn't say, you'll be fine. She didn't promise, you'll live. Instead, she said, then we'll enjoy the days you do have. Jiwon looked at her. That's all. That's all. She smiled. One day at a time. That afternoon, they visited the bookstore. The old owner looked up when they entered. You brought your friend. Mira smiled. Yes. The old man looked at Jiwon. You look better. Jiwon smiled. Do I? Your eyes. What about them? They look less lonely. Jiwon didn't know how to respond. Mira looked at him. The old man returned to his book. Jiwon wandered through the shelves. He eventually found a book about traveling. He opened it. Photographs of different countries filled the pages. Mountains, villages, deserts, cities, lakes. He stared at one photograph of a quiet European town. Mira appeared beside him. Want to go there? Jiwon laughed. Maybe. That's not a no. It's not a yes either. We'll see. Jiwon smiled. We'll see. As they were leaving, the old man called Jiwon. Come here. Jiwon walked over. The old man handed him a small envelope. What's this? A photograph. Jiwon opened it. Inside was a photograph of the bookstore. The morning sunlight came through the windows. It was beautiful. Why are you giving me this? The old man shrugged. You come here often. Jiwon looked at the photograph. So you're part of the place now. Jiwon's eyes became warm. Thank you. The old man smiled. Don't thank me. He pointed toward the door. Come back. Jiwon nodded. I will. That evening, Jiwon sat at his desk. He opened his notebook. He looked through his list. More than half was completed. But he didn't feel the same pressure anymore. He turned to a new page. Instead of adding another goal, he wrote, things I want to do tomorrow. 1. Have breakfast. He paused. Then, 2. Take a walk. 3. Call mom. 4. Meet Mira. 5. Take one photograph. He looked at the list. It was almost laughably simple. But that was exactly what he wanted. Tomorrow didn't need to be extraordinary. It only needed to happen. A week passed. Then another. Jiwon's health continued to fluctuate. Some days were good. Some days were difficult. On good days, he went outside. On bad days, he stayed home. He learned not to feel guilty about it. Mira learned too. When Jiwon said he needed rest, she didn't argue. She simply brought snacks and sat beside him. Sometimes they watched movies. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they did absolutely nothing. And slowly, Jiwon stopped trying to hide every bad day. He began telling the truth. I'm tired. I'm dizzy. I don't feel like going out. I'm scared. I'm having a bad day. And every time, Mira answered the same way. Okay. Not pity. Not panic. Just, okay. Then we'll stay here. One afternoon, Jiwon woke from a nap. Mira was sitting in the chair beside his bed. She was reading his photography book. He blinked. What are you doing? She looked up. Waiting. For what? For you to wake up. Jiwon sat up. You didn't have to. I know. She smiled. I wanted to. Jiwon looked at her. How long? An hour. You waited an hour. Yes. Why? Mira shrugged. Because you're my friend. Jiwon looked down. He didn't know how to respond. Mira closed the book. Don't make it weird. I'm not. You are. He smiled. Thank you. You're welcome. That night, Jiwon couldn't sleep. He walked to the window. The little flower had begun to lose some of its petals. He touched one gently. He realized something. Everything changed. Flowers, people, seasons, days. Nothing stayed forever. Maybe that was why every moment mattered. Not because it lasted, but because it didn't. Jiwon opened his notebook. He turned past his old bucket list. Past the photographs. Past the hospital notes. He found a blank page. At the top, he wrote, "The days I choose." Then, "Today, I choose to get out of bed. Today, I choose to eat breakfast. Today, I choose to laugh. Today, I choose to rest when I'm tired. Today, I choose to tell someone when I'm afraid." He stopped, then added, "Today, I choose to live." He looked at the sentence. It felt different from the words he had written months ago. Back then, he had written, "I have 1 year left." Now he wrote, "I have today." And somehow, today felt bigger. The next morning, Jiwon woke before his alarm. Sunlight filled his room. He sat up. For a moment, he simply listened. Birds outside. His mother's footsteps in the kitchen. A car passing down the street. The ordinary sounds of morning. His phone buzzed. "Good morning." He smiled. He typed, "Good morning." Then another message came. "What are we doing today?" Jiwon looked out the window. He thought about the list. The unfinished dreams. The hospital. The future. Everything he couldn't control. Then he smiled. "I don't know." Mira replied, "Perfect." Jiwon laughed. He got out of bed. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. He didn't know how long his body would let him continue. He didn't know whether the doctors would be right about the months ahead. But for once, he didn't need those answers. He opened the curtains. Morning light poured into the room. Jiwon took a breath, then whispered, "Today." He smiled. "Let's live today." And for now, that was enough. Chapter 11, The Day He Couldn't Pretend. Rain had been falling since morning. Jiwon sat beside the window, watching droplets race down the glass. His camera rested on the desk. His notebook was open. The flower beside the window had lost another petal. He reached out and touched it gently. "You're getting old." He smiled. Then his phone buzzed. A message from Mira. "Rainy day." Another message. "Movie." Jiwon smiled. "Sure. I'll bring snacks. Don't bring too much. No promises." Jiwon put his phone down. He felt tired. More than usual. But he didn't want to cancel. Not today. Mira arrived an hour later carrying 2 bags. Jiwon opened the door. She looked at him. "Wow. What? You look terrible." "Thanks. I mean it affectionately." "That's worse." She laughed. Then held up the bags. "I brought food." "How much?" "Enough." Mira. "Enough." Jiwon sighed. "You always say that. And I'm always right." They went upstairs. Mira arranged everything on his desk. Snacks, drinks, popcorn, a stack of DVDs. Jiwon stared at them. "How many movies are we watching?" "Until we fall asleep." "You brought 5, 6. She pulled another one from her bag. Jiwon laughed. "You're ridiculous. You love it." He paused, then smiled. "Yeah." Mira looked at him. The answer had come too naturally. She smiled too. "Good." They chose a comedy. For the first 20 minutes, Jiwon laughed. Really laughed. Mira kept throwing popcorn at him whenever he laughed too loudly. He threw it back. Soon there was popcorn everywhere. "Look what you did. You started it." "No, you did. You threw the first piece." "Because you laughed." "That's not a reason." "It is." They continued arguing. Then Jiwon's laughter suddenly stopped. His hand went to his chest. Mira noticed immediately. "Jiwon." He looked down. The pain came suddenly. Sharp. Deep. He couldn't breathe properly. Mira stood. "What's wrong?" "I'm okay." "You're not." He tried to stand. His legs weakened. Mira caught his arm. "Sit down." "I'm fine." Jiwon. The pain became worse. He gripped the edge of the desk. His breathing became shallow. Mira's face changed. "Where's your medicine?" "Bag." "Which bag?" "Black." His voice broke. Mira found it. She opened it with shaking hands. "Which one?" Jiwon pointed. She gave it to him. He took the medicine. Then waited. 1 minute. 2. The pain didn't disappear. Mira reached for her phone. I'm calling the hospital. No. Jiwon. Please. She stopped. His face was pale. I'm scared. Myra's hand trembled. Okay. She sat beside him. I'm here. Jiwon closed his eyes. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I ruined movie day. Mira stared at him. You really think that's what I'm worried about? Jiwon didn't answer. She held his hand. Just breathe. He tried. Slowly. In, out, in, out. Eventually, the pain began to fade. But the fear remained. They didn't watch the rest of the movie. Mira stayed beside him. Jiwon lay on his bed, exhausted. After a while, he opened his eyes. You should go home. No. It's late. No. Mira. No. He smiled. Weakly. You're stubborn. Yes. Very. I know. She leaned back in the chair. I'm staying. Jiwon looked at her. He didn't argue again. An hour later, Jiwon finally fell asleep. Mira remained awake. She looked around his room. The photographs. The notebook. The little flower. The tiny bear from the arcade. The photo booth strip. His life was scattered everywhere. She picked up the notebook. She didn't open it. She simply held it. Then she noticed something beneath it. A hospital appointment card. She stared at the date. There were several more underneath. Myra's expression changed. She hadn't realized how many appointments he had. She put them back exactly where they were. Then looked at Jiwon. He was sleeping peacefully. For the first time since learning the truth, Mira allowed herself to be afraid. She quietly wiped her tears. The next morning, Jiwon woke to the smell of food. He opened his eyes. She was holding a plate of breakfast. He stared. What are you doing? Breakfast. You cooked. Yes. Jiwon sat up. Should I be worried? She glared at him. Eat. He smiled. She placed a plate in front of him. The eggs were slightly burned. Jiwon took a bite. He chewed. Mira watched him. Well, it's. He paused. Interesting. She narrowed her eyes. Interesting. Very. Is it bad? Jiwon smiled. No. He took another bite. It's good. Mira smiled. You're lying. Maybe. She laughed. And for a moment, last night's fear disappeared. After breakfast, they went downstairs. His mother was waiting. She looked at Mira. Then at Jiwon. You stayed. Mira nodded. He wasn't feeling well. His mother looked at Jiwon. He avoided her eyes. She immediately understood. What happened? Nothing. Mira looked at him. Jiwon. He sighed. I had some pain. His mother's expression tightened. How bad? Not too bad. Mira interrupted. It was bad. Jiwon looked at her. She continued. He couldn't breathe properly. His mother went silent. Jiwon lowered his head. I'm sorry. His mother sat down. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want you to worry. She looked at him. Jiwon. Her voice was quiet. You're my son. He said nothing. You're not a burden. His eyes became wet. I know. No. She shook her head. I don't think you do. Jiwon looked at her. You keep trying to protect everyone from your pain. She reached for his hand. But you're making yourself carry all of it alone. Jiwon's tears fell. His mother squeezed his hand. You don't have to do that. That afternoon, they went to the hospital. The doctor examined Jiwon carefully. After several tests, he sat across from them. Your body is becoming less tolerant of exertion. Jiwon nodded. What does that mean? Your good days may become less predictable. His mother tightened her grip on Jiwon's hand. Can we do anything? We can adjust his treatment. The doctor explained the changes. More rest. More monitoring. Different medication. Fewer physically demanding activities. Jiwon listened quietly. Then asked, can I still travel? The doctor looked at him. Yes. His eyes brightened. But, the doctor continued, short trips. With someone. And you need to stop when you're tired. Jiwon nodded. Okay. Promise me. I promise. The doctor looked at Mira. And you? Mira blinked. Me. Make sure he listens. She nodded seriously. I will. Jiwon sighed. I've lost all authority. Mira smiled. You never had any. Outside the hospital, the rain had stopped. The pavement was still wet. Sunlight reflected in the puddles. Jiwon stood beneath the hospital entrance. He looked at the sky. Mira stood beside him. You okay? He nodded. Yeah, really. He thought about it. Not completely. Mira smiled. That's more honest. Jiwon looked at her. I don't want my life to become just hospitals. It won't. You can't know that. No. She looked at him. But I can promise that hospitals won't be the only thing you remember. Jiwon smiled. How? She pointed ahead. Come on. Where? You'll see. She took him to a small bakery. Jiwon looked at the sign. This is where we're going. Yes. Why? Because you're alive. He laughed. That's your reason. Yes. They bought 2 pastries. Then sat outside. Jiwon took a bite. He closed his eyes. Good. Mira smiled. See. What? You're still here. Jiwon looked at her. She pointed at the pastry. You're eating. He smiled. That's your philosophy. Today, yes. On the way home, they stopped at a pedestrian bridge. The city was glowing after the rain. Everything looked clean. New. Jiwon took out his camera. Mira watched. You're allowed to take pictures again. Yes. He raised the camera. Click. He looked at the photograph. The wet streets reflected the sunset. Cars moved beneath them. People walked with umbrellas. The city looked alive. Jiwon smiled. Mira looked at him. What are you thinking? Jiwon lowered the camera. I used to think I needed to do something amazing every day. And now I think. He looked at the city. Maybe being alive is enough. Mira smiled. Good. That night, Jiwon opened his notebook. He turned to a blank page. He didn't add another item to the bucket list. Instead, he wrote, things I want to remember. Mom holding my hand. Mira staying when I was scared. Burnt eggs. Rain after the hospital. The taste of that pastry. The city after the rain. He paused. Then wrote, I was afraid today. Underneath. But I wasn't alone. Jiwon stared at the words. Then he added one more. Maybe I don't have to be brave by myself. He closed the notebook. Before sleeping, Jiwon checked his phone. A message from Mira was waiting. Good night. Then another. Tomorrow, we're doing something fun. Jiwon smiled. What? Secret. I hate surprises. Liar. Jiwon laughed. He put the phone beside his pillow. Then looked toward the window. The little flower was still standing. One petal had fallen, but another bud had begun opening. Jiwon smiled. He didn't know how many days he had. He didn't know how many mornings remained. He didn't know whether his body would give him another year. But he knew something now. When tomorrow came, he wouldn't face it alone. And that made tomorrow feel a little less frightening. Chapter 12, The Place We Promised to Go. Jiwon woke to a message from Mira. Pack a bag. He stared at it. Why? We're going somewhere. Where? You ask too many questions. That's because you never tell me anything. Exactly. Jiwon smiled. Then another message arrived. Don't forget your medicine. His smile softened. She had changed. Before, Mira would have simply dragged him somewhere. Now she remembered the things he needed. His medication, his rest, his limits. She didn't treat him like he was fragile. She simply cared enough to pay attention. Jiwon typed, where are we going? Her answer came, somewhere unfamiliar. Jiwon laughed. He knew exactly what she meant. It was the item they had written on his list. Travel somewhere unfamiliar. An hour later, Jiwon stood outside the station with a small backpack. Mira arrived carrying hers. She looked at him. Ready. Where are we going? She held up 2 train tickets. Somewhere. That's not an answer. It's enough of one. Jiwon took the ticket. He looked at the destination. A small mountain town several hours away. He smiled. You planned this. Obviously. When? A few weeks ago. Jiwon looked at her. You've been planning this for weeks. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have worried about whether your body could handle it. Jiwon frowned. That's true. And I would have probably said, no. Exactly. She smiled. So I waited until you were having a good week. Jiwon stared at her. You're scary. I know. The train ride was peaceful. The city slowly disappeared. Buildings became smaller. Then fields appeared. Then mountains. Jiwon sat by the window. Mira sat beside him. She had brought snacks, a blanket, and a small pillow. Jiwon looked at the supplies. Did you pack for a month? No. Then why do you have so much? Because you're terrible at preparing. I'm improving. Slowly. Jiwon laughed. After a while, Mira fell asleep. Jiwon looked at her. Her head rested against the window. He gently moved the pillow behind her head. She didn't wake. Jiwon took out his phone. He almost took a picture. Then stopped. He put the phone away. He simply watched her sleep. He wanted to remember the moment. But he didn't always need a photograph anymore. Some things could stay in his mind. They arrived in the afternoon. The town was quiet. There were small houses along the mountain road. A stream ran through the center. There were shops with wooden signs and flower pots outside. No tall buildings. No traffic. No crowds. Jiwon took a deep breath. The air smelled different. Cleaner. Colder. Mira stretched. Welcome to nowhere. Jiwon smiled. I like nowhere. Good. She pointed toward a small guest house. We're staying there. Jiwon stopped. You booked a room. 2 rooms. He blinked. Of course. She laughed. What did you think? I don't know. You're weird. I know. The guest house was run by an elderly woman. She greeted them warmly. First time here? Mira nodded. Yes. The woman smiled. Then you'll like the view. She pointed toward the back. There was a small wooden terrace overlooking the mountains. Jiwon stepped outside. The afternoon sun touched the tops of the trees. He stared. It's beautiful. Mira stood beside him. You say that a lot. Because things keep being beautiful. She smiled. That's a good problem to have. They spent the afternoon exploring. There was a small market. A bakery. A river. A hiking trail. They bought warm bread and sat beside the stream. Jiwon dipped his fingers into the water. Cold. Mira immediately warned him. Don't get sick. I'm not doing anything. You're touching freezing water. It's just water. Your body disagrees. Jiwon smiled. Yes, Mom. Mira narrowed her eyes. Don't call me that. He laughed. They stayed beside the stream until the sun began to set. Jiwon took several pictures. Mountains. Water. Mira. The old wooden bridge. A cat sleeping outside a bakery. A child riding a bicycle. Ordinary things. Beautiful things. He took one photograph after another. Then Mira asked, Are you happy? Jiwon lowered his camera. Yeah, really, really. She nodded. Good. That evening, they ate at a small restaurant. The owner recognized them as visitors immediately. Traveling. Mira nodded. Yes. The owner smiled. How long? Jiwon opened his mouth. He didn't know what to say. Mira answered instead. A few days. The owner nodded. Then enjoy them. Jiwon smiled. He liked that. No one here knew his history. No one knew the hospital. No one knew the countdown. He was just Jiwon, a young man traveling with a friend. He ordered too much food. Mira complained. You can't finish all that. I can. You absolutely can't. I will. 10 minutes later, he couldn't. Mira laughed. I told you. Jiwon leaned back. I'm defeated. By food. Unfortunately. She pushed her plate toward him. Then stop eating. He smiled. Thank you. Later, they walked back to the guest house. The sky was completely dark. There were more stars here than in the city. Jiwon stopped. He looked up. Mira stopped too. Wow. Jiwon smiled. Yeah. Neither spoke. Then Mira said, You wanted to see stars. Somewhere far from the city. Jiwon looked at her. Right. She smiled. Another box. Jiwon opened his notebook. Under. See the stars somewhere far from the city. He drew a check. Then he looked at the page. There were fewer empty boxes now. For the first time, that didn't make him happy. It made him sad. Mira noticed. You okay? Jiwon closed the notebook. Yeah, you're lying. He smiled. Maybe a little. She waited. He finally said, I'm getting closer to finishing the list. Mira understood. That's a good thing. I know. But, Jiwon looked at the sky. I don't want to finish it. Mira didn't answer immediately. Then she said, Then don't. He looked at her. What? Don't finish it. She took the notebook from his hands. You can add more. She turned to a blank page. What's the next thing? Jiwon thought. Another trip. Write it. He did. Another trip. Mira smiled. Another. Jiwon added. Another sunrise. Another meal. Another photograph. Mira looked at him. See. She handed the notebook back. There's always another. Jiwon stared at the page. Then smiled. Another. That night, Jiwon couldn't sleep. He sat outside on the terrace. The mountain air was cold. His chest felt heavy. Not painful. Just heavy. He looked at the stars. He thought about the doctor. Your time may be shorter than we originally estimated. He thought about the list. About Mira. About his mother. About everything he still wanted. He quietly opened his phone. There were photographs everywhere. His album had grown to thousands of images. He opened the first photograph he had taken. A crooked sunset. Then the bookstore. The ocean. Mira. The sunrise. The flower. His mother. The rain. The city. The park. The mountains. His life. A year ago, he hadn't cared about any of this. Now he cared too much. A tear rolled down his cheek. I want to stay. The words were almost a whisper. I really want to stay. He lowered his head. For months, he had told himself that accepting death was courage. Now he understood. Sometimes accepting something was necessary. But accepting death didn't mean he had to stop loving life. He could be afraid. He could want more. He could fight, even if there was no guarantee. The terrace door opened. Mira stepped outside. She was wearing a sweater over her pajamas. You disappeared. Jiwon quickly wiped his face. Couldn't sleep. She sat beside him. Bad thoughts. Yeah, she didn't ask what they were. She simply sat there. After a while, Jiwon spoke. Mira. If I get worse. She looked at him. What? If I can't travel anymore? He swallowed. If I can't do all the things on my list? Mira waited. Will you be disappointed? She stared at him, then shook her head. No, really. Of course not. She looked toward the mountains. The list doesn't matter. Jiwon looked at her. Then what does? She smiled. You. Jiwon's eyes became wet. Mira continued. I don't care if we travel to 10 countries or sit in your room all day. She shrugged. I don't care if we finish the list. She looked at him. I just want you to be here. Jiwon couldn't speak. Mira gently bumped her shoulder against his. So stop trying to earn your right to be alive. Jiwon looked down. You already have it. A tear fell. Then another. Mira didn't say anything. She simply stayed beside him. The next morning, they woke before sunrise. They walked to a hill behind the guest house. The sky was dark. Jiwon was tired. His steps were slow. Mira didn't rush him. They reached the top just before the first light appeared. Jiwon sat down. Mira sat beside him. The horizon slowly brightened. Then the sun appeared. Jiwon smiled. Another sunrise. Another day. He took out his camera. Then stopped. He lowered it. Mira looked at him. No. Picture. Jiwon shook his head. Not this time. Why? He looked at the sunrise. I want to remember it myself. Mira smiled. Okay. They watched in silence. The sun rose higher. Warm light spread across the mountains. Jiwon closed his eyes. For one moment, he forgot about time. He forgot about the diagnosis. He forgot about the list. He forgot about the future. He was simply there, alive. On the train home, Jiwon opened his notebook. He turned to a blank page. He didn't add another item. Instead, he wrote, I don't want to live because I have things left to finish. He paused. Then, I want to live because I haven't finished becoming myself. He stared at the sentence. Then added, and maybe I never have to finish. He closed the notebook. Mira was asleep beside him. Jiwon looked out the window. The mountains slowly disappeared behind them. He smiled. There would be other trips. Maybe. There would be other sunrises. Maybe. There would be other photographs. Maybe. He no longer needed certainty. He only needed the courage to keep choosing the next day. One day. Then another. Then another. And somewhere between the mountains and the city, Jiwon realized that his list had changed completely. It was no longer a list of things to do before death. It had become a list of reasons to keep living. Chapter 13, The Days That Don't Go As Planned. The trip to the mountain town became one of Jiwon's favorite memories. Not because anything extraordinary happened. They didn't climb the highest mountain. They didn't visit famous places. They didn't do anything that would make the news. They simply walked. They ate. They watched the stars. They watched another sunrise. And they went home. For Jiwon, that was enough. But when they returned to the city, his body reminded him that happiness didn't make him invincible. 3 days after the trip, Jiwon woke up feeling sick. He didn't move. His body felt heavy. His chest felt tight. Even breathing seemed like work. He reached for his phone. There was a message from Mira. Morning. Another. I have a new plan. Jiwon smiled weakly. What plan? Picnic. He stared at the message. He wanted to say yes. But his body was telling him no. His fingers moved. Maybe tomorrow. Mira replied immediately. You're tired. Jiwon hesitated. Then, yeah. Then stay home. Sorry. Stop apologizing. A moment later. I'll bring the picnic to you. Jiwon laughed softly. You don't have to. Too late. An hour later, there was a knock at the door. Jiwon opened it. Mira stood there holding a basket. You actually came. I said I would. You could have just stayed home. She walked past him. You look awful. Good morning to you too. Good morning. She smiled. Now go lie down. Jiwon laughed. You're becoming like my mother. Your mother has good ideas. They had their picnic on the living room floor. Mira spread out a blanket. She had brought sandwiches, fruit, drinks, and a small dessert. Jiwon stared at everything. You really planned this. Of course. But we're inside. That's the point. She opened the curtains. Sunlight filled the room. Indoor picnic. Jiwon smiled. I like it. They ate while listening to music. Mira told him about something ridiculous that had happened at the university. Jiwon laughed. Then suddenly, he coughed. Once, twice, then again. Mira's smile disappeared. You okay? Jiwon nodded. Yeah. He reached for his water. The coughing slowly stopped. Mira watched him carefully. Jiwon smiled. See, I'm watching you. I noticed. Good. After lunch, they lay on the blanket. Jiwon stared at the ceiling. Mira was looking through photographs on his camera. You have so many. I know. You should print more. Why? So you can put them somewhere. Jiwon thought about that. Maybe I'll make a wall. A wall of photographs. Mira smiled. That's a good idea. Help me. Of course. Jiwon turned his head toward her. What would I do without you? Mira answered casually. Probably eat instant noodles every day. He laughed. That's true. That evening, after Mira left, Jiwon stood in front of his bedroom wall. It was empty. White. Plain. He imagined it covered in photographs. The ocean. The sunrise. The mountain. The bookstore. His mother. Mira. The flower. The city after the rain. He smiled. Then his smile faded. He didn't know how many photographs he would have time to add. But maybe that didn't matter. He could start. So he did. The first photograph went up. The ocean. Then the sunrise. Then the mountain town. Then the photo booth. Then the little flower. Then a picture of his mother laughing. Then Mira. Then another. And another. Soon the wall began to change. It wasn't perfect. Some photographs were crooked. Some were blurry. Some were badly framed. But Jiwon liked it. It looked like a life. A week later, Mira came over. She stood in front of the wall. Her mouth fell open. You actually did it. Jiwon smiled. I told you I would. She walked closer. Wow. She looked at each photograph. This one. The ocean. This. Sunrise. This. That terrible restaurant. It wasn't terrible. It was. She laughed. Then she stopped at a photograph of herself. It was one from the mountain trip. She was looking at the sunset. Jiwon had taken it without her noticing. Mira smiled. You made me look pretty. You were pretty. The words came out before Jiwon could stop them. Mira looked at him. Jiwon froze. Then she smiled. Thanks. He looked away. You're welcome. Mira took a small piece of paper from her bag. What are you doing? Adding something. She wrote something on it. Then stuck it beneath the photographs. Jiwon read it. We still have places to go. He smiled. That's good. Mira pointed at him. Don't remove it. I won't. Promise. Promise. For the next few days, Jiwon had good energy. He went outside. He walked. He cooked with Mira. He took photographs. He even returned to the bookstore. The old owner looked at the photographs on his phone. You're improving. Jiwon smiled. Thank you. You look happier. Jiwon thought about it. I think I am. The old man nodded. Good. Jiwon looked around the bookstore. I want to remember this place. Then come back. I will. The old man smiled. Don't say it like goodbye. Jiwon froze. The old man noticed. He hadn't meant anything by it. But the words hit Jiwon hard. Don't say it like goodbye. Jiwon smiled. I'm not. That night, Jiwon received a call. It was the hospital. His next appointment had been moved earlier. He agreed. Then sat quietly. He knew why. His symptoms had been getting worse. He had been hiding some of it. Not from Mira anymore. Not from his mother. But even from himself. He had started measuring his good days. He didn't want to. But he did. Monday. Good. Tuesday. Tired. Wednesday. Good. Thursday. Chest pain. Friday. Good. Saturday. exhausted. Sunday. Good. The pattern was becoming harder to ignore. At the hospital, the doctor looked through his results. Jiwon sat quietly. His mother sat beside him. Mira wasn't there. Jiwon had asked her not to come. The doctor finally looked up. Your condition is progressing. Jiwon nodded. How much? The doctor sighed. We can't give you an exact timeline. Jiwon's mother held his hand. But, Jiwon waited. You're entering a stage where your symptoms may become more frequent. His mother looked worried. What should we do? Monitor him closely. The doctor explained the warning signs. What to watch for. When to seek immediate care. How much activity was safe. Jiwon listened. Then asked, can I still live normally? The doctor paused. Your normal will have to change. Jiwon looked down. He already knew. The doctor continued. That doesn't mean you can't live. Jiwon looked up. You can still have good days. He smiled faintly. I have been. The doctor smiled. Then keep having them. Outside the hospital, his mother didn't speak for several minutes. Finally, do you want to go home? Jiwon shook his head. No. Where do you want to go? He thought. The park. She smiled sadly. Okay. They sat beneath a tree. Jiwon's mother looked at him. You've changed. How? You used to be afraid of everything. Jiwon smiled. I still am. Not like before. She looked at the sky. You used to spend so much time worrying about tomorrow. Jiwon was quiet. And now, he smiled. I worry about today. His mother laughed softly. That's better. They sat together. Jiwon leaned against her shoulder. It felt strange. He was older now, but for a while, he felt like a child again. Safe. That evening, Jiwon returned home. Mira was waiting outside. She looked at him. How was the hospital? He froze. I didn't tell you. Your mother did. Jiwon looked at her. She smiled gently. She asked me to come. Jiwon sighed. I wanted to handle it myself. I know. Mira held out her hand. So, he looked at it, then took it. It wasn't good. She nodded. Tell me. He did. He told her everything. The worsening symptoms. The uncertainty. The possibility that his time could be shorter. The restrictions. The fear. He didn't hide anything. Mira listened. When he finished, she asked. Are you still going to try to live? Jiwon looked at her. Yes. She smiled. Good. They went inside. Jiwon stood in front of his photograph wall. Mira looked at the empty spaces. There. She pointed. What? More pictures. Jiwon smiled. Of what? Anything. We don't have anything new. Then tomorrow we'll make something. Jiwon laughed. You always have a tomorrow. Mira looked at him. So do you. Jiwon became quiet. She continued. Don't give tomorrow away just because you're afraid you won't get it. His eyes became wet. Okay. The next morning, Jiwon woke up feeling better. Not completely, but better. He opened his curtains. Sunlight entered the room. He looked at the photograph wall. There were still empty spaces. He smiled, then took out his camera. He took a picture of the wall. Click. Mira texted him. Awake. Yes. Good. I have an idea. Jiwon smiled. Of course you do. Let's make something. What? A time capsule. Jiwon stared at the message. What's that? We put things inside that we want to remember. Like what? Letters. Photos. Tickets. Little things. Everything. Jiwon smiled. Okay. They met that afternoon. They bought a small wooden box. Then they started filling it. A photo from the ocean. A train ticket. A receipt from the mountain town. The photo booth strip. A dried flower. A note from the bookstore. A wrapper from the bakery. A tiny piece of paper with Myra's handwriting. We still have places to go. Jiwon looked at it. He smiled. Then Mira handed him a blank piece of paper. Write something. What? Anything. Jiwon thought. Then wrote. If you're reading this someday, I hope you remember that I was happy. Mira looked at him. Someday. Jiwon smiled. Maybe. She didn't say anything. Instead, she wrote something of her own. Jiwon didn't look. She folded it and placed it inside. Don't read it. Why? Because it's for later. Jiwon smiled. Okay. They closed the box. Then Mira asked. Where should we hide it? Jiwon looked around. His eyes landed on the photograph wall. Somewhere here. They placed the box behind a loose panel beneath the photographs. A secret. Something waiting for the future. Jiwon stood there for a moment. then smiled. I like it. Mira nodded. Me too. They sat on the floor. Jiwon looked at the wall. So many memories. So many ordinary days. So many reasons to stay. He thought about the time he had left. Maybe months. Maybe less. He didn't know. But he finally understood something. He didn't need to finish everything. He didn't need to complete every dream. He didn't need to travel everywhere. He didn't need to make every day extraordinary. He only needed to keep choosing the days that came. One by one. That night, Jiwon added a new sentence to his notebook. Not a goal. Not a bucket list item. Just a promise. I will stop measuring my life by how much time I have left. He paused. Then wrote. I will measure it by how much I choose to live. He closed the notebook. Outside, the sun was setting. Jiwon walked to the window. For a moment, he simply watched. No camera. No notebook. No list. Just the sky. The sun disappeared slowly. And Jiwon smiled. There would be another sunset. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe another day. He couldn't know. But he had learned something important. Not knowing tomorrow doesn't make today meaningless. It makes today precious. And tomorrow, if it came, would be another chance to choose life. Chapter 14, The Future We Couldn't Promise. The time capsule stayed hidden behind the photograph wall. Jiwon hadn't opened it since the day they made it. Mira had made one rule. Don't open it until you have something important to add. Jiwon thought that was strange. What counts as important? Something you don't want to forget. Everything in there is something I don't want to forget. Then you'll have to wait. So the box remained hidden. Waiting. Just like the future. The weeks after their mountain trip were quieter. Jiwon had fewer adventures. Not because he had stopped wanting them. His body simply didn't always cooperate. Some mornings, he woke feeling almost normal. Other mornings, getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. He learned to stop fighting those days. If he was tired, he rested. If he felt well, he went outside. If he couldn't travel, Mira brought the world to him. They watched movies, cooked together, read books, played games. Sometimes they sat by the window and talked about nothing. Those days became just as important as the ocean and mountains. Maybe more. One afternoon, Mira arrived with a large box. Jiwon stared at it. What is that? Something important. Should I be worried? Probably. She put it on the floor. Jiwon opened it. Inside were dozens of printed photographs. He stared. You printed all of these? Yes. Why? Because your laptop is going to explode. Jiwon laughed. She started sorting them. Ocean, sunrise, mountain, bookstore, park, rain, food. Their photo booth pictures. Pictures of his mother. Pictures of Mira. Pictures of ordinary days. Jiwon picked one up. It showed them sitting at a bus stop, doing absolutely nothing. When did you take this? You were asleep. You took a picture of me sleeping. Yes. That's creepy. It's cute. No. Yes. Jiwon smiled. He put it aside. Then found another. It showed his mother standing in the kitchen. She was laughing at something outside the frame. Jiwon's expression softened. I don't remember this. Mira smiled. You were cooking. Oh. You were trying to make pancakes. That explains why she was laughing. They spent the afternoon putting photographs into albums. Jiwon wrote dates beneath them. Mira wrote captions. Some were serious. Some were ridiculous. The day Jiwon nearly burned the kitchen. The worst noodles we've ever eaten. The mountain where he complained every 10 minutes. The sunrise we almost missed. The day he finally admitted he was scared. Jiwon stopped at that one. He looked at Mira. You wrote that? Yes. He smiled. I like it. Good. He placed the photograph carefully. Then looked at the growing album. There's so much. Mira nodded. Yeah, I didn't think I had this many memories. You do now. Jiwon smiled. That evening, his mother came home early. She found the two of them sitting on the floor surrounded by photographs. She stopped. What happened here? Mira looked up. We're making an album. His mother smiled. Can I see? Of course. She sat beside them. For the next hour, the three of them looked through photographs. His mother laughed at the cooking pictures. Mira told embarrassing stories. Jiwon complained about both of them. It was noisy, warm, ordinary. Jiwon quietly took a photograph. Click. His mother noticed. Again. Jiwon smiled. Yes. She shook her head. You're obsessed. I know. He looked at the photograph. His mother and Mira were laughing together. He saved it. Later that night, Jiwon couldn't sleep. He walked into the living room. His mother was still awake. She was sitting on the sofa. You should sleep. So should you. She smiled. Jiwon sat beside her. For a while, neither spoke. Then he asked, Mom, what did you want to do when you were my age? She looked surprised. That's random. Just answer. She thought for a moment. I wanted to travel. Jiwon smiled. Really? Yes. Where? Everywhere. He laughed. That's Myra's answer. Maybe you two have something in common. Jiwon looked at the floor. Did you travel? Yeah. She shook her head. No. Why? Life happened. Jiwon was quiet. His mother looked at him. Don't make the same mistake. What? Don't wait for the perfect time to live. Jiwon's eyes became wet. I won't. She reached for his hand. I know. The next morning, Jiwon woke with severe fatigue. He couldn't get out of bed. He stared at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. Good morning. He wanted to answer. His hand felt too heavy. Another message. Don't tell me you're still sleeping. He smiled weakly. He finally typed. Bad day. Myra's reply came immediately. Okay. Then, I'll come over. Jiwon typed. You don't have to. I know. I'm still coming. Mira arrived with breakfast. She didn't drag him outside. Didn't suggest a trip. Didn't tell him to cheer up. She simply sat beside his bed. You don't have to do anything today. Jiwon looked at her. Okay. We can just stay here. Okay. She placed the breakfast on the table. Eat when you can. Jiwon nodded. Then closed his eyes. Mira stayed. Several hours passed. Eventually, Jiwon woke. Mira was reading. He looked at her. You're still here. Of course. Don't you have something to do? Yes. What? Stay here. Jiwon smiled. You really don't know how to leave people alone. Nope. He laughed softly. Then suddenly became serious. Mira. What happens after? She lowered her book. After what? After. He struggled. After my year. Mira didn't answer. Jiwon continued. If I don't get better. She looked at him. What happens to us? His voice trembled. Do we just stop? Mira closed the book. No. You can't know that. I can choose. Jiwon looked at her. What if you're sad? I will be. What if you hate me? I won't. What if you regret meeting me? I won't. What if? Mira stopped him. Jiwon. He went quiet. She looked directly at him. I can't promise you forever. His eyes lowered. Neither can you. She took his hand. But I can promise today. Jiwon looked at her. And tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll promise tomorrow. He laughed weakly. That's not how promises work. Maybe it is. She smiled. We don't know what the future looks like. She squeezed his hand. So we'll stop asking it for guarantees. Jiwon looked at their hands. I used to think I needed to finish everything before I died. I know. Now I don't. Good. I just want to keep having days. Mira smiled. Then have them. Even the bad ones. Especially those. Why? Because bad days are still days. Jiwon laughed. That's a terrible philosophy. Yet you're still listening. That evening, Jiwon felt well enough to leave his room. He walked toward the photograph wall. Mira followed. He touched the little note she had placed there. We still have places to go. He smiled. Then reached behind the loose panel. He pulled out the wooden box. Myra's eyes widened. You found it. I made it. I know. He placed it on the floor. For a moment, neither spoke. Jiwon opened the lid. Inside were their memories. The tickets. The photographs. The dried flower. The notes. The little pieces of their year. He picked up the note Mira had written. We still have places to go. He smiled. Then looked at her. There's something I want to add. What? He took out a fresh photograph. It was the one he had taken earlier that day. His mother and Mira laughing together. He placed it inside. That's important. Mira smiled. Yeah. Jiwon closed the box. But before hiding it again, he added one more thing. A small piece of paper. Mira looked at him. What did you write? You'll see someday. When? When we need it. She smiled. Okay. They put the box back. That night, Jiwon stood before his notebook. The bucket list had only a few unchecked boxes left. He looked at them. Learn how to cook better. Make an album of this year. Visit another unfamiliar place. He had almost finished. He picked up his pen. Then crossed out the remaining items. Mira stared. What are you doing? Jiwon smiled. I'm done. Done. With the list. She looked confused. But you haven't done everything. I know. Then why? Jiwon looked at the pages. Because I finally understand. Understand what? The list was never supposed to be finished. Mira was quiet. Jiwon continued. I made it because I thought I needed to complete my life before it ended. He smiled. But I don't want to live like that anymore. He closed the notebook. I don't want to spend every day asking what I still need to accomplish. Mira smiled. Then what will you do? Jiwon looked at her. Live. The next morning, Jiwon woke before sunrise. He quietly opened the curtains. The sky was dark. He made himself a cup of tea. Then sat beside the window. No camera. No checklist. No plans. Just him. Waiting for morning. His phone buzzed. Awake. Jiwon smiled. Yes. Sunrise. He looked outside. Sunrise. Save me a seat. He laughed. Always. A few minutes later, Mira arrived. They sat together by the window. The sky slowly changed. Dark blue. Purple. Pink. Gold. Jiwon watched. Mira watched. Neither took a photograph. They didn't need one. They had already learned how to remember. Then Jiwon's phone rang. The hospital. His smile disappeared. He answered. Hello. A nurse spoke. Jiwon, we'd like you to come in today. Today? Yes. Why? There was a pause. We received your latest results. Jiwon's heart began beating faster. Is something wrong? Another pause. Your doctor would prefer to discuss it with you in person. Jiwon looked toward the sunrise. Mira noticed his expression. What happened? Jiwon slowly lowered the phone. I need to go to the hospital. Mira stood immediately. I'll come. Jiwon nodded. They got ready. Neither spoke much on the way. At the hospital, they sat in the familiar room. His mother arrived shortly afterward. The doctor entered carrying a folder. He sat down. For a moment, he didn't speak. Jiwon knew. Something had changed. The doctor finally looked at him. We've received the latest results. Jiwon nodded. What did they show? The doctor took a breath. Your condition has progressed faster than we expected. His mother's hand tightened around his. Jiwon stayed quiet. The doctor continued. We need to change your treatment. Jiwon swallowed. How much time? The doctor looked at him. We still can't give you an exact number. Jiwon's eyes lowered. But, the doctor hesitated. We should prepare for the possibility that you may have significantly less time than we originally thought. Silence. Myra's eyes filled with tears. His mother squeezed his hand. Jiwon stared at the floor. For months, he had been trying not to count. He had stopped measuring his life by months. He had learned to live one day at a time. And now, the future had become even smaller. His heart hurt, not because he had suddenly stopped wanting to live. Because he wanted it more than ever. He looked at Mira. She was crying. His mother was crying. And for the first time, Jiwon didn't try to comfort them by pretending he wasn't afraid. He simply said, I'm scared. Mira reached for his hand. His mother held the other. Jiwon closed his eyes. He breathed. Then whispered, but I'm still here. The doctor nodded. Yes. Jiwon opened his eyes. Then let's use the time I have. He looked at Mira, at his mother, then toward the window. Sunlight was beginning to fill the hospital room. He smiled through his tears. I don't know how long. His voice trembled. But whatever time I have. He squeezed their hands. I want to live it. And for the first time, Jiwon didn't think of the future as something he was running out of. He thought of it as something he could still fill. Even if it was shorter than he wanted. Even if it was frightening. Even if it wasn't fair. There was still today. And there would be tomorrow. If tomorrow came. For now, that was enough. Chapter 15, the last page. The first thing Jiwon noticed was the sunlight. It slipped through the curtains and fell across his bed. For a few seconds, he didn't move. He simply watched it. Morning. Another morning. He smiled. His body felt heavy. Much heavier than before. But he was still here. His phone sat on the bedside table. There were several messages. Good morning. Are you awake? Don't pretend you're sleeping. Jiwon smiled. He slowly reached for the phone. His fingers trembled. He typed, I'm awake. The reply came almost immediately. Good. I'm coming over. Jiwon stared at the screen. Then typed, okay. He put the phone down. His eyes moved toward the photograph wall. The wall was completely full now. There was barely any empty space. The ocean, the mountain, the sunrise, the bookstore, the city, the rain, the flower, his mother, Mira, food, train tickets, ordinary days, hundreds of moments, a whole year of life. Jiwon smiled. That's a lot. Mira arrived around noon. She opened the door quietly. Jiwon, I'm here. She walked into his room. Then stopped. She looked at him. You're awake. Yeah. She smiled. But her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Jiwon noticed. You cried. I did not. Your eyes are red. Allergies. To what? You. He laughed softly. That's a terrible excuse. I know. She sat beside him. For a while, they said nothing. Then Mira looked toward the window. The flower is still alive. Jiwon followed her gaze. The little plant had survived. It wasn't as bright as before. Some leaves had turned yellow. But there were still tiny flowers blooming. Yeah, you took care of it. Sometimes. I thought you were going to kill it. So did I. Mira smiled. You've improved. Jiwon looked at the plant. Maybe it just wanted to live. Mira became quiet. Jiwon looked at her. Hey, don't make that face. What face? That sad face. She looked away. I'm not sad. You are. She wiped her eyes. Maybe a little. Jiwon smiled. Come here. She moved closer. He leaned his head against her shoulder. Neither spoke. They stayed like that for a long time. Eventually, Jiwon whispered. How long has it been? Mira knew what he meant. Almost a year. Jiwon closed his eyes. A year. The number sounded different now. At the beginning, it had been a deadline. A sentence. A countdown. Now it was a memory. A whole year. A year he had once thought would disappear in hospitals and darkness. Instead, he had lived it. That afternoon, Mira brought the wooden time capsule. She placed it on the bed. Jiwon looked at it. I thought we weren't opening it. We're not. She handed him a small envelope. Then what's this? I made something. Jiwon opened it. Inside was a photograph. It showed the two of them sitting beside the ocean. They were both laughing. On the back, Mira had written, "For the days you forget how much you lived." Jiwon's eyes became wet. He smiled. Thank you. Mira nodded. There's more. She handed him another envelope. His mother's handwriting. Jiwon opened it. Inside was a letter. He read it silently. His mother's words were simple. She wrote about the boy he had been. The child who hated hospitals. The teenager who always apologized for being sick. The son who tried to make everyone else comfortable. And finally, you don't need to be sorry for the time you were given. Jiwon's hands trembled. You gave us more memories than we ever expected. He couldn't continue. He lowered the letter. Mira reached for his hand. Jiwon cried. Not loudly. Just quietly. Mira stayed. That evening, his mother came into the room. She saw the letters. She knew. She sat beside him. Did you read it? Jiwon nodded. You didn't have to write all that. His mother smiled. I wanted you to know. Jiwon looked at her. I love you, Mom. She held his face. I love you too. I was scared. I know. I still am. I know. He leaned into her hand. I'm glad I didn't give up. His mother's eyes filled with tears. So am I. The days became slower after that. Jiwon could no longer travel. He couldn't walk long distances. He spent more time in bed. Some days, he couldn't even leave his room. But Mira didn't stop coming. She brought books, movies, food, photographs, stories. Sometimes she simply sat beside him. They talked about everything, nothing, the future, the past, things they wished they had done, things they still wanted to do. One evening, Mira opened the notebook. She flipped through the pages. Look, Jiwon smiled. You still have the list. Of course. She read the first items. Eat whatever I want. Done. Visit a bookstore. Done. Make a friend. She looked at him. Definitely done. Jiwon smiled. Watch the sunrise. Several times. Go to the ocean. Twice. Travel somewhere unfamiliar. Done. She reached the final pages. Then stopped. There's one you never completed. Jiwon looked. See another country. He smiled. Yeah. Do you regret it? He thought. Then shook his head. No. Why? Because I learned something. What? He looked at the photographs on the wall. I thought I needed to see the whole world. He smiled. But I realized I didn't. Mira looked at him. I just needed to see enough of it to understand how beautiful it was. She smiled. That's a good answer. One night, Jiwon asked Mira to bring his camera. She gave it to him. What are you doing? I want to take one more picture. Of what? He looked around the room. His mother was sitting by the window. Mira was beside his bed. The photograph wall filled the background. The little flower sat on the windowsill. The wooden time capsule rested beneath the photographs. His room was full of life. Jiwon raised the camera. Mira and his mother looked at him. Ready. Mira smiled. Ready. His mother smiled through her tears. Jiwon pressed the shutter. Click. The photograph appeared on the screen. It wasn't perfect. Mira was crying. His mother was wiping her eyes. Jiwon looked exhausted. The room was messy. The photographs were crooked. The sunlight was fading. But Jiwon smiled. Perfect. Mira looked at it. You look terrible. Jiwon laughed. That's what you always say. Because it's true. His mother laughed too. For a moment, it felt like any other day. That night, Jiwon asked Mira to open the notebook to a blank page. She did. He took the pen. His hand shook. Mira steadied the notebook. What are you writing? My last page. She became quiet. Jiwon wrote slowly. The year I decided to live. He paused. Then, I started this year because I thought I was dying. He continued. I thought I needed to finish everything before my time ran out. I thought courage meant accepting death without being afraid. His hand trembled. I was wrong. He smiled. Courage was getting out of bed when I wanted to give up. Courage was telling people I was scared. Courage was letting people stay. He looked at Mira. Then his mother. He continued. I learned that life isn't measured by how long it lasts. It's measured by the moments that make you want to stay. He stopped. His eyes filled with tears. Then he wrote the final sentence. And I wanted to stay. He placed the pen down. Mira was crying. His mother was crying. Jiwon smiled. That's it. Mira shook her head. No. What? That's not the end. Jiwon looked at her. She pointed at the notebook. You still have blank pages. He smiled. They're yours. What? Fill them. She stared at him. With what? Anything. He closed his eyes. Your life. Morning came quietly. Jiwon woke before sunrise. He was very tired. He could barely move. But he could see the window. The curtains were open. The sky was dark blue. Mira was asleep in the chair beside him. His mother was sleeping on the sofa. Jiwon smiled. He didn't wake them. He simply watched. The sky slowly changed. Blue, purple, pink, gold. Another sunrise. His favorite. Jiwon breathed slowly. He remembered the first sunrise he had watched with Mira. He remembered the ocean, the mountain, the bookstore, the random bus, the terrible cooking, the rainy afternoon, the photograph wall, the time capsule, his mother's laughter, Mira's voice. Every ordinary day, every difficult day, every day he had chosen to stay. His eyes became heavy. He whispered, "Thank you." Mira stirred. Jiwon. He looked at her. She immediately woke. What? He smiled. Morning. She came closer. Are you okay? Jiwon nodded. Yeah. His mother woke too. She came to his bedside. Jiwon looked at both of them. Then toward the window. The sunlight was filling the room. For a moment, he wasn't afraid. He had spent so long believing his life was ending. But looking at them, he realized something. His life had never been only his. Every person he loved had become part of it. Every memory would continue somewhere. In photographs. In stories. In the time capsule. In the people who remembered him. He squeezed Mira's hand. Then his mother's. His breathing became quieter. Mira cried. His mother held him. Jiwon looked toward the sunrise one last time. And smiled. The room became quiet. The sunlight continued moving across the floor. The little flower beside the window swayed gently. Outside, the city woke. Cars passed. People walked to work. Children went to school. The world continued. And inside that quiet room, Jiwon's year came to an end. Not with fear. Not alone. Not forgotten. He had wanted more time. Of course he had. But he had stopped measuring his life by the number of days he was given. He measured it by the moments he had chosen to live. And there had been so many. Months later, Mira stood in front of the photograph wall. The room was quiet. The time capsule sat on the desk. She opened it. Inside was Jiwon's final letter. She unfolded it. It was short. Mira. If you're reading this, I'm probably not there to complain about you anymore. She laughed through her tears. You once told me that we didn't need forever. I didn't understand then. Now I do. Thank you for giving me a year I didn't think I deserved. Thank you for staying. Thank you for making ordinary days feel important. Don't spend the rest of your life looking backward. Go somewhere unfamiliar. Take photographs. Eat something delicious. Watch the sunrise. And when you're happy, don't feel guilty about it. There was one final line. Live for the days I couldn't have. Mira covered her mouth. She cried. But she smiled too. A year later, Mira stood on a beach. The ocean stretched endlessly before her. She held her camera. She looked toward the sunrise. Then raised it. Click. She looked at the photograph. The sunrise was beautiful. She smiled. Then opened her phone. There was an old message saved at the top. Morning. Jiwon. Morning. She smiled. Morning, Jiwon. Then she turned toward the ocean. She took off her shoes. And walked into the water. Not because she had forgotten him. Because she remembered. Years later, people would still find Jiwon's photographs. A sunset. A bookstore. A train window. A flower. A mountain. An ocean. A photograph of his mother laughing. A photograph of Mira beneath the trees. A photograph of 3 people sitting together in a room filled with memories. None of them were perfect. But that was the point. They weren't photographs of a perfect life. They were photographs of a life that had been lived. And somewhere in the corner of Jiwon's old room, behind a wall covered in memories, his notebook remained. Its final page read, I thought I had 1 year left to die. Instead, I had 1 year to learn how to live. And that was the story of the year Jiwon decided to live. Thank you for listening to II Fiction Stories. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. See you next time.